Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if neglected Naruto hates his mother Aphrodite. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by PAINX65 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. A young teen with jet black hair and bright sea green eyes was walking home after saying goodbye to a friend of his named Grover. This was Perseus Jackson, or commonly called Percy. Unknown to him, he was being followed, something that stayed out of the corner of his eye. He decided whether to take a shortcut or not before he was suddenly pulled into an alleyway and dragged down it with a hand covering his mouth. He was alone in the street at that time when he was pulled, and when he was thrown from his kidnapper, he turned around to see who had dragged him into the street. Mrs. Dodds. Percy was shocked at seeing his teacher doing this. "Where did you put it?" Mrs. Dodds asked, frowning at the teen. Percy was confused as the teacher grew angry at each passing second before he witnessed the teacher change. He changed into a monster. Percy moved back slowly as the transformed teacher snarled at him before flying at him after her wings formed. The young teen fell back as the old crone flew towards him as fear coursed through his body. Suddenly the former teacher, now monster, slammed into a wall away from the young teen. Percy looked to see the person who sent the monster into the wall. He was a tall man, probably in his early 20s, and had blonde hair, blue eyes and surprisingly 3 whisker marks on each cheek. He wore an overcoat that was similar to the green Dak greatcoat, with its neck guard constantly turned up, and an M43 officer's cap. He also wore matching long pants and boots that went together his outfit. Due to the neck guard of the coat and the hat, it was hard to see the lower half of his face at times. The cap didn't have any sort of emblem or image on it, and neither did his coat. He looked down at the young teen as Percy shivered at the look. He looked at Percy with a look of worth and value. Percy gulped while being confused by the look of worth and value his savior was giving him. "Laces la il mest Percy," the man said to the monster teacher when he looked at the beast now glaring at the man. "How dare you?" the fury screeched. Mrs. Dodds then flew at the man as said man walked at a casual pace towards the fury. What are you doing?" Percy asked, watching him walk towards what seemed to be death. "You can't fight that monster." The man glanced at him before looking back towards the approaching monster that was pretty close now, and Percy understood the look he was sent. He could easily handle it. He rose his right hand in what looked like he was going to chop the monster, but instead he thrust his hand forward into the chest of the enraged fury, and instead of blood pouring out of the wound, it was gold dust. The man's hand pierced through the monster's chest, and it would have the monster's heart pierced on his hand if it didn't turn into gold dust. Percy was shocked at what he witnessed. First his teacher turned into a monster that wanted to kill him, then he was saved by this stranger who killed the monster teacher as his hand pierced through her chest before the teacher turned into gold dust. "That imant nesse plus jamais stature moncellaire," the man said as the gold dust disappeared as he turned to Percy. Percy froze now that this man's attention was now on him, the look from before still in his eyes as he couldn't see the lower half of his face. "Harrigards too?" the man asked as Percy took a step back. Even though he had no clue what the man said, he somehow knew what he meant. He had been staring at him for a while. "Al is gammon, depich toy," the man said as he started to walk away after gesturing him to follow. I can't understand you," Percy said as the man stopped. "Follow me," that was all he said. What's your name?" Percy asked as he followed the man. "Naruto." Percy followed the man known as Naruto out of the alleyway after the murder of his teacher as the two appeared in an empty street. "Thanks for saving me back there," Percy said before he looked back at the alleyway. "What was that?" Naruto's eyes looked down at Percy as they walked. "That was a fury," he said. "Wait, fury, as in the Greek mythology fury?" Percy asked in shock. He couldn't believe what he was hearing, but after seeing that, it was pretty hard too. The only response he had gotten was a nod from the man. This can't be real," Percy said as Naruto sent him a look. "It's real," Naruto said. "You better get used to it as they will come after you now unless I take you to a safe haven." Percy stopped walking. He realized that this Naruto person wasn't that much of a talker, but he was a bit shocked after hearing of a haven. "Wait, but what about?" Percy started before he was cut off by the taller male. "I will inform your family," Naruto told the younger male. "They will understand. We must move. I just can't leave." Naruto stopped, causing the younger male to stop as well as he turned around. "The longer you are out here, the more monsters will attack you now that you have seen one," he said. "And the fact it will postpone my reward," he thought the last part. They stared at one another for a while as Percy gulped at the intense look Naruto sent his way. "You just need to say goodbye, right?" Naruto asked. "Then let's get this out of the way." Percy smiled at the blonde. "Thanks," he said, but got silence in return. Like before, Naruto wasn't a talkative person. Percy was escorted by the blonde as they reached Percy's house. When they entered, they were greeted by a woman by the name of Sally, who turned out to be Percy's mother. Sally hugged her son when he came home, which Percy returned. "Welcome back," she said before she noticed Naruto. Who is this Percy?" she asked as her eyes narrowed slightly while Naruto was unaffected by the protective look in her eye. It kind of unnerved her of how he looked at her. It was as if to say that there was no threats in the room. "Oh, this is Naruto," Percy said. "He saved me earlier," the teen said, a bit nervous about what he had to tell his mother. She wouldn't believe him if his teacher changed into a fury. "Saved? You're not hurt, are you?" Sally asked as she worried over her son. "I'm fine. What happened?" "The fury tried to attack him," Naruto said. "The fury nearly attacked him?" Sally asked as Naruto simply nodded. "You believe us?" Percy asked his mother as she sighed. "Percy, there is something I need to tell you," she said as she went on to tell Percy that he was a demigod and his father wasn't lost at sea amongst other things. Naruto decided to leave the two to their mother-son moment as he left the room. Sometime later Naruto came back as he listened to their conversation. "So there's a camp for people like me?" Percy asked, getting two nods. Naruto did say something about a haven. "That is the camp," he replied. "We should get moving." "You should go pack, Percy," Sally said. "It will help you learn to protect yourself from monsters." Percy sadly nodded as he left while Sally turned to the blonde. "You'll protect him, right?" she asked as he nodded. "You don't talk much, do you?" she asked again and getting another nod. "You can get a divorce now, can't you?" he suddenly asked as his nose twitched from the pile of garbage left by a person called Gabe. "He had served his purpose to protect your child." "Yes, but even if I wanted to," she started. Naruto sat in silence as he took in her words. "But it would cause too much of a hassle, right? And he would do everything in his power to prevent it." "That's right," she said. Naruto glanced at the rubbish pile as he stood up. "I shall deal with it," he said, shocking the mother of the young demigod. "Tea, that won't be necessary," she said as he looked down at her before drinking the tea she offered. He said nothing as he then walked towards the door. He turned to face her before nodding and leaving the room. He walked over and looked to see the man in the photo that was called Gabe. Gabe saw him when he left where he and Sally lived and openly glared at this new man who walked towards him. "Who the fuck are you and why the fuck were you in my fucking house?" Gabe growled out before he was picked up by the throat as he stared into the blonde's eyes as if the blonde was looking at trash, weak trash. Naruto started carrying Gabe at an arm's length towards a window. Wait a minute, Gabe panicked, trying to get out of the blonde's iron grip. "Why are you doing this?" "You have outlived your usefulness," Naruto spoke. "You aren't needed anymore for this family." The grip around Gabe's neck was released as Gabe fell. Naruto carried Gabe not only to a window by the neck, slightly crushing his neck, but to one of the higher floors. Naruto followed Gabe by jumping out of the window, landing where Gabe had landed leg first. He picked up the trash and walked towards the ocean at a fast speed and saw that the once calm waves were now moving around as soon as Gabe was near it. Naruto raised Gabe and threw the body into the ocean. He turned around and left as he let the ocean deal with Gabe. Hopefully the sea god would help him with the disappearance of Gabe. He stopped walking as a blue light glowed around him before the light was absorbed into the blonde. "I see this as a bonus," he thought as he continued back. Once he walked back into the room, he saw that Percy was ready to go. "Ready?" the blonde asked as the demigod nodded. Naruto turned around and pointed downwards as Percy nodded. Naruto walked downstairs as he gave the two one last family moment as a family, his eyes narrowed slightly at the thought. Percy then came down and followed the blonde as they walked out of the city near the seaside. Percy looked out at the sea before turning to face the tall blonde. "Where exactly is the camp?" he asked, but the blonde remained silent. As the sea faded from view as trees soon blocked the view, Percy looked down one path as the blonde walked down another. "Hey, this." Percy was then picked up the collar as Naruto carried him down the other path before dropping him on the ground. "Ow, what was that for?" "Je dois just escorter la base, il n'y a rien sur ta condition," he said as Percy blinked. It sounded like a threat if he strayed from the path or delayed his arrival. He watched as Naruto continued on before he followed. He shouldn't really annoy someone who could pierce a monster's chest with his bare hands. They soon came upon what appeared to be the camp that he heard about, the place where Naruto would drop him off, and who knows what will happen next. "We're here," Naruto said suddenly as Percy's eyes snapped from the view of the camp to Naruto himself. "This is the camp?" he asked as the blonde nodded. Naruto walked towards the camp as Percy followed as he wondered what the camp for demigods would be like. Chapter 2. Percy followed behind the taller man, presumably to the one in charge here. However, he had noticed some looks they sent towards Naruto but not him. They came up to a man drinking cola while the other demigods in their way left. They were actively avoiding him and the young demigod wondered why. Percy stumbled back after walking into Naruto, who stopped and sent a look towards him before looking at the man who did not like drinking the cola in his hand. "So another one," the man said as he glanced over at Percy. "I should welcome you here, but don't expect anything." Percy raised an eyebrow before looking at Naruto, hoping for an answer, only to get none. "So who are you?" The man looked at Percy as if he was crazy. Weren't you informed? He looked at Naruto for a second before looking back at Percy. Actually, never mind that, he probably stayed silent all the way here. I know that gods exist, monsters, this camp, Percy said before recalling what his mother told him. That makes it a bit easier as to who I am, you call me Mr. D. Mr. D said as he summoned another cola. Is that supposed to be short for something? Percy asked as Naruto looked at his shoulder where a bird decided to land on. Naruto didn't mind, and the bird seemed to like it there. Mr. D looked at Percy and sighed as Naruto looked to his other shoulder to see a different bird there. It was then Percy learned who Mr. D really was. Now I'm sure someone can show you around the camp and tell you about it, Mr. D, or rather Dionysa said while looking at Naruto at the last part. Percy looked to Naruto as the blonde had just absorbed what appeared to be some blue light that emitted power. On Mappe, Japars after saying his piece, Naruto turned around and started to walk away, causing the new camp member follow shortly after. You're leaving? He asked as the blonde nodded as he walked before the birds flew off his shoulders. Percy still didn't like the looks his fellow campers sent Naruto. The demigod was about to say something until he saw what appeared to be Mr. Brunner and his friend Grover, only for the two of them to have different legs. His teacher, who used to be in a wheelchair, now had the body of a horse, while his friend Grover, who used to use crutches, now had legs of a goat. Centaur Saturn, Naruto informed Percy without looking at him or the two Percy was looking at. Percy couldn't believe that they were here. Wait, does that mean that they were watching him and bring him to camp if he found out another way? He didn't like the fact that his best friend and teacher kept this from him. Hell, was Grover really his friend or was he just acting until he was brought to camp? He decided whether to go over to them or not. The yet-to-be-claimed demigod thanked Naruto for the escort before heading over to Grover. Grover, Mr. Brunner? Percy said as he walked over to them. Ah, Percy, his centaur teacher said as he galloped over with Grover. But I'm afraid that is not my real name, my real name is Chiron. Percy, I'm glad you're safe, Grover said as he gave a sigh of relief. You're a satyr was all Percy said, giving him a look of betrayal, causing the satyr to quickly explain to him why he did what he did. So how did you get here? Chiron asked. Oh, Naruto brought me here, he said as he pointed over towards the older demigod. Was he a demigod? Probably, and it seemed he was leaving camp. It was then he saw Grover's look. Please don't tell me he is the same, there has to be a reason, right? He thought to himself. When he looked at Mr. Brunner, or rather Chiron's face, it was a different story. Chiron's expression didn't show the same look like Naruto was some sort of monster or something. In fact, Chiron looked sad. That explains a lot, Chiron said as he was focused on the blonde before he disappeared from view. So who is Naruto exactly? Percy asked, hoping to get answers. Naruto wasn't one for talk, so any answers he got were short and to the point. Chiron sighed. Naruto is known as the demigod of trade. So he is a demigod, Percy thought. Why is he called that? Grover should be able to inform you while showing you around, Chiron said. I'll be back when you two are finished. Percy then looked at Grover waiting for answers as Chiron galloped away. He is known as the demigod of trade for making sure other demigods get to camp in exchange for powers or other useful things. Percy didn't know how to feel, but he now understood why Naruto looked at him as if he had value, and maybe that glow as well. If he is a demigod, then which cabin is he from? Percy asked as Grover told of him each of the different cabins. Grover answered his friend's question by pointing towards the pink one. No way, Percy said in disbelief. He couldn't believe it. After what Grover told him about each cabin, Percy just couldn't comprehend that Naruto came from cabin 10. From what Percy had gathered, cabin 10 had people who didn't want to do anything that wasn't related to making themselves pretty, dating or anything that was related to love. They didn't partake in any activity and would probably choose not to. In a fight with one of the other campers they would probably lose. Naruto, however, carried himself like a soldier or an assassin, maybe even both. To find out he came from Aphrodite's cabin was like saying Artemis liked men or Ares hated war, it just wasn't possible. Percy saw what Naruto could do, which just a single attack with his hand. He was a fighter unlike his siblings. Percy didn't want to think what would happen if he had a weapon. If Percy was honest with himself, which he was, he would say that Naruto was cool, kind of like a person you would look up to kind. He was still processing the fact he was escorted to camp in exchange for whatever power he got. Yes way, Grover said. And that's not all. What do you mean? He has a second nickname, Grover told his demigod friend. He is also known as the Mistake of Aphrodite. Percy's eyes narrowed as Grover continued. He is known by that title by almost everyone in camp along, even by his siblings, the satyr said. Even mother shares the same views. Percy struggled to withhold his anger, especially seeing the frown on Grover's face. Grover wasn't angry at the campers. He shared the campers' beliefs. Maybe thrown peanut butter was good after all. Percy shook his head. It was wrong for that to happen, but for Grover to glare at someone like everyone else after what he had to put up with in his school just made Percy angry and disappointed at him. Deciding to change the topic from the hate, Percy spoke up. He gets rewarded for escorting demigods like myself, right? What does he get? It depends on the god, really, Grover said. Each demigod is worth more than the other. Like taking jobs that pay more than the other, right? Yeah, that sounds right, Grover replied. Anyways, Hephaestus kids are worth more to him due to Hephaestus's forge, while the hunters of Artemis are worthless to him due to not being able to get something from Artemis. Aphrodite kids are also worthless to him as he has the same powers as his siblings. Hunters of Artemis, who are they? The bunch of girls and only girls that Artemis recruited who swore off men and gained immortality, Grover answered. Well, that's the quick version of it anyway. So children of Hephaestus are worth the most to him, while the hunters of Artemis and children of Aphrodite are practically worthless to him. You got it? Was there any situations that got messy? Percy asked as Grover then gained a sad expression. There was one situation where it got messy, and it was with Zeus, Grover said. Zeus was being stubborn when a demigod was dropped off. Naruto didn't get a reward or trade from this escort, and he turned Thalia Grace, Zeus's daughter, into a tree, more specifically that tree right there. He refused to turn Thalia back until Zeus pays Naruto with his power, especially after Hermes and Athena paid Naruto for his help, Grover said as he frowned thinking of the blonde. He even managed to get the golden fleece to make sure we couldn't undo it ourselves. The golden fleece could do that? Apparently, Grover replied. It was the only reason he went and got it, or did he already have it? Well, I don't know, but apparently the golden fleece could do that. It sounds like you were close to this Thalia person. I was the satyr that guided them towards the camp, her and 2 other campers you will meet sometime during your stay, Grover said. Naruto had appeared just before I got there, and then we guided them to the camp. He took down every monster that came our way before we reached camp, and well, you know the rest. Oh, I was wondering what language he was speaking earlier. French, Chiron said as he galloped other. All children of Aphrodite can't speak French. You can go now, Grover, I shall take over, Chiron said as Grover nodded before leaving. What about you, Mr. Bruach, Chiron? You don't have the same look as the others, Percy said. From what I seen, only you and Mr. D don't look at him like the others. Chiron looked visible sad when he turned to face Percy. I know Naruto much longer than anyone in this entire camp, a lot longer. Percy then followed the centaur shortly after they stopped talking. Meanwhile, Naruto was leaving the camp. Naruto was the only one near the camp's entrance, but he stopped walking and looked at the trees. He knew he wasn't alone, so he waited for whoever was hiding to reveal themselves to him. Naruto watched as a younger female came out from behind a tree. I still can't hide myself from you, can I? She asked. The teenager currently had brown eyes with matching long brown hair. Naruto had seen her with black and blonde hair and with blue eyes before. She was currently wearing one of the camp's shirts with a pair of black jeans. All in all, she looked beautiful and probably caused many crushes without her knowing. She was one of the only ones in camp that didn't share the same opinions of her siblings, mother or the other campers. This was Selena Borgard, daughter of Aphrodite and one of Naruto's younger sisters. Mon frère, she said. Ma cheer, sir, Naruto replied. Selena would probably be the closest family members he had, and like her had the same powers. He could also alter his own appearance and could use it to show or get rid of his whisker birthmarks. Most were confused as to why he wore clothes that practically hid his body, and he had no reason to, as all children of Aphrodite looked beautiful or handsome depending on gender and could look good with anything. Selena also wondered why her brother basically hid his appearance, but it also suited him well. Maybe it was because he didn't care about appearances or something like that. She never understood the hate her brother received. It was just ridiculous to her. Some people claimed that he was a male Artemis, and she doubted that was the reason for why their mother hated him. Why did she hate him again? Selena didn't know, but the campers here shared the same views. It probably started off with their cabin or their mother, who then influenced their cabin before either of them spread it to the camp. However, Selena wasn't one to follow the crowd or even family tradition for that matter. She watched as he passed her going off into the world beyond the camp, a much harsher place for a demigod. He did pat her head affectionately, though when he walked past, she was probably the only sibling in camp who Naruto showed that sort of affection to, if only through a pat on the head. Selena, as she watched her brother, got further from the camp with a smile on her face. The hate for her brother was just stupid to her. She didn't hate her brother, nor did she follow their views. Not everyone shared the same ideals. Her best friend Claris held respect for him. Then again, he had found them and brought both of them here at the same time, and she wondered if Naruto knew who she was to him. He went out of his way to bring her to camp, even though he wouldn't get anything from their mother. Her smile only grew. Even if their siblings hated him for some reason, he still cared for them, despite not showing it at all. Come back soon, mon frère, she said as she turned and left back towards the camp. Chapter 3. Naruto walked out of the camp as he released a groan he had been holding ever since his talk with Selena. Aside from Selena, he hated his siblings. It was more of that he didn't care for them. Basically, he could kill them without hesitation. He had seen enough corpses to not flinch or feel anything. He learned to detach when he was much younger. A wolf among a room full of shit, that's what he was. He didn't even glance back at the camp he was leaving once more to understand what thoughts his half-sister Selena might have about him. If she thought he cared for his other siblings, she was wrong. She was so wrong that it made even the Mani and Lissa seem on the ball. Demigod of trade, mistake of Aphrodite, he didn't care what they called him or what they thought, he sure as hell didn't care for any one of them, that was for sure. He pulled down on his hat to block the sun's harmful rays. For being a god of the sun and healing, he sure likes damaging the genetic material in skin cells. He stopped walking as he looked over to a tree, he would have released a sigh, seeing as they weren't as hidden as they thought they were. The demigod simply stared and stared and stared at the tree. The figure behind it couldn't take it anymore as they shot out from the tree, brandishing a sword made of bronze. The infamous demigod of the camp simply took a step back as the slash harmlessly passed on by. The second slash quickly came from the attacker as Naruto just simply sent his knee up to the assaulter's wrist, causing the attacker to let of the blade. "Damn you," the attacker hissed. The person glared at Naruto, he was a male who had a deep thick pale scar that ran from the bottom of his eye to his chin, and he also had blue eyes and sandy blonde hair. Naruto knew who this attacker was and wasn't fazed a bit. "Bonjour Luke," the blonde greeted with no real tone in his voice. Luke Castellan gritted his teeth as he pulled out a bronze dagger, seeing as the blonde had caught his sword. "Don't bonjour me," Luke shouted as he lashed out with the dagger. Naruto flipped the sword in his hand as he parried Luke's blows with ease. If anyone from the camp watched how Luke was fighting, they would have thought he'd gotten progressively worse. Luke quickly jumped back as Naruto swung the sword. However, once Luke jumped back he was face to face with the infamous camp demigod. Luke raised his knife only for it to be pushed back by the other blonde sword which was former his. "Percy," Luke shouted at the blonde. Naruto said nothing as he leaned his face closer and closer to Luke's own before he whispered in a deadly tone. "Do you really want another scar?" Luke's face paled but still held his frown as Naruto had thrown him to the ground behind him. The fallen demigod looked up just in time to see his sword pierce the ground in front of him. He looked up to see the demigod of trade walk away from him. "Don't you walk away from me," he shouted as he rose to his feet. I won't forgive you." Naruto stopped and turned towards the son of Hermes and tipped the brim of his hat as he continued to walk on. Luke picked up a sword and ran forth with both bronze weapons. "Die." Naruto suddenly turned around as a fist collided with Luke's solar plexus and sent him to the ground once more. Luke stared up at the sky as Naruto stood over him. "Give her back," he told the other blonde with a demanding tone. "Give her back." The demand however turned into a plea. Naruto said nothing as he didn't even blink before turning on his heels and walking away. It wasn't his problem. "Please give Thalia back." Naruto didn't stop as he continued. He had a job to do, he may have turned her into a tree, but that was due to Zeus's cheapness. However, Hera was quite happy with his actions. It was quite clear that Luke hated him, just like the rest. Luke's hatred for him was much stronger than all the other campers though. As he walked on the old path, he simply thought of the next demigod he would be guiding to camp. Despite the hate from he received, there was quite a few gods that were happy for what he did. He was on good terms for those gods for bringing their children to the safe haven, and all it cost was a little something from the gods in return. Unless they were cheap like Zeus or his son Ares, however there was a different story behind that one. Hera liked him for what he did to Zeus's daughter and making him pay for breaking his marriage vow ways. He might have or might not have gotten something in return for those actions of his. Now that he thought of it, he was probably the only demigod born out of wedlock that she liked. Was he born out of wedlock? He couldn't remember, but he probably was. Looking up he found himself back in the city that he left from to escort the son of Poseidon to camp. "I require food," he thought as his stomach let his needs known. He spotted a cafe nearby and decided to get a bite to eat there and maybe a coffee too. After reaching the cafe, he pulled out a seat and sat down while taking off his cap and placing it on the table. "May I help you, sir?" a waitress asked politely, causing Naruto to look up at her. "I'll take a coffee and a chocolate cheesecake please," the blonde said as the waitress nodded as he sat on an outside table. No one mentioned about Naruto's whisker marks as he didn't have them on, he altered his appearance to not show them. These whisker marks were a sign of imperfection and he took pride in it. He didn't always have his whiskers marks shown, he usually kept his face without them most of the time. He decided to keep them away for now, but when he brought them out it was usually for certain occasions, especially in certain company. As he waited, a small bird landed on his shoulder. "Here you go, sir," the waitress replied as she placed the coffee and the cake on the table as the blonde pulled out the correct change for her as she took the money and left smiling at him. He picked up the coffee and took a sip as he heard someone approach. Then Naruto. He glanced up to see a woman with long brown hair and blue eyes. Odd, he only just met her some time ago. What were the chances of them running into each other again? "Miss Jackson," he greeted the mother of Percy before offering a seat opposite of him. She sat in the chair directly opposite of him. However, she was quite nervous and scared. "Is Percy safe? Did he get to the camp?" She asked question after question as he calmly drank the coffee. "Your child is safe," he assured her. "He is current at camp, safe and sound." Sally released a big sigh of relief. "That's good to hear," she said as she looked up at him. "But, what are you doing here?" "I'm going to be guiding more demigods." "I see," she said as he started to eat the cake. It was very silent between the two, but then again, Naruto wasn't one for conversation. "You're nervous," he said without glancing at her. "Are you worried? About being free?" "Excuse me? After the death, or shall I say disappearance, of that man, you are worried about being found out?" Even though she said nothing, her expression was clear. He said nothing as he continued with his cake and coffee. "There is nothing to fear," he said, but this time looked at her. "No one will notice, the mist has changed the perception of reality and all the technicalities have been sorted out." "To the world, you were never married," he told her as her eyes widened at the information. "No matter who you tell, the whole world only knows that you never married anyone, just had a child as the father died at sea." Sally looked down with a smile, a rare smile of happiness, not one she put on due to staying with Gabe for years. "Thank you," she said as he remained silent. "I did nothing though," he told her as he continued his coffee. It was probably one of the longest conversations he had in a while. "It's also been some time since a human thanked me too." The blonde had finished his cake some time ago as he focused on drinking his coffee. The two just simply sat there in silence. "What will you do now?" he asked, catching her attention. "You seem lost in thought." "I don't know," she replied. "Do you have any dreams?" "Well, maybe go to NIU and take a course for creative writing." Naruto had finished his coffee and set the cup on the table and placed his hat back on. "I wish you luck," he said as he stood. "Goodbye, Miss Jackson." The demigod left as Sally offered a goodbye in return. Before Sally began to move, the waitress from before placed a cup of tea on the table in front of her. "Here you go, ma'am," she said. I didn't order anything," Sally timidly said to the waitress, who only smiled. "Oh, this was already paid for by the gentleman earlier." Sally blinked. When did this happen? She looked down at the tea with a smile. Meanwhile, the demigod of trade himself was walking along as he quickened his pace down the busy walkway. Despite his outfit, he didn't get any attention from it, surprisingly. The man who was walking down the street with the look of a hunter before an arm wrapped around him. He glanced next to him to see the blonde. What are you doing?" he asked the man with his arm wrapped on his shoulder. Naruto said nothing as he took the man into an alleyway before he pushed the man to the ground. He raised his fist before it came down, piercing the man's chest before it dispersed into a cloud of gold dust. It didn't even bother to hide itself, he thought as he picked up the drop and pocketed it without looking. He walked back onto the busy walkway and continued on. Naruto stopped and was forced to go to a less crowded area. Once he was alone, an iris message appeared in front of him. "Naruto," the speaker on the other side was Chiron. "Chiron," Naruto replied. "Is there a problem?" "Indeed," the centaur said, stroking his beard. "Don't beat around the bush, Chiron," a voice said in the background on Chiron's end. "Just tell him already." It was Mr. D who was talking as the centaur sighed. "Naruto," the centaur said. "We have a problem." Naruto raised his eyebrow. "Zeus's lightning bolt," Chiron said as Naruto started to lose interest quickly. "It's been stolen." Naruto's eyes widened. "Stolen?" "Yes. And you're telling me this?" Chiron nodded. "Are you accusing me?" he asked the centaur. "Or, is this a job?" "Naruto, I don't suspect you," Chiron said honestly. "But yes, I wonder if you have the time to find and retrieve it. I have a feeling a quest is going to be given." Naruto said nothing as he looked at Chiron. "I understand, you wish me to retrieve the bolt," he said. "But you do realize that I can just use this against Zeus, right?" "I'll admit that thought did enter my mind." Naruto sighed. "I'll think about it," he told the centaur. "But don't expect it to go the way you expect it if I retrieve it." "That's all I ask," Chiron said. "Thank you." The iris message closed as Naruto looked towards the building which contained the entrance to Mount Olympus. Chapter 4. Zeus was angry, which wasn't usual. The Greek god of lightning was usually angry and later just plain grumpy. First, his daughter Thalia was turned into a tree while it kept his daughter alive within. The blonde who imprisoned her within the tree had different intentions, especially when some of the leaves that fell off the tree never grew back. The blonde had made it so only he could change his daughter back and he wouldn't even consider unless he, the king of Olympus, give him something in return. It was preposterous. Asking a king for a reward or trade for his daughter's safety, a king would never do such a thing. He would have struck him down with a bolt of lightning if it wasn't for that his daughter was turned into a tree, which he suspected that the tree that the blonde mercenary tampered with. The tree gave off an ominous feeling that wouldn't go away, the tree's feeling made his gut churn. He didn't like it at all. Secondly, his lightning bolt was stolen. Yes, stolen. Someone had stolen his trademark weapon. Right from Olympus. This practically described his daily, weekly, monthly, yearly grumpiness. He went through a mental list of who the culprit could have been. There were simply too many. Zeus's eyes shot up as he saw something that determined his mind on the culprit. The child had been claimed by his brother, Poseidon. Poseidon had broken his oath, never mind the fact that he broke it too. I should have known, he said as he frowned. Meanwhile, a simple day has passed for the mortals of the world. The people carried out their plans of the day, working the daily grind. Naruto, however, was at a park as he sat on a bench, throwing breadcrumbs to the ducks. As he fed the ducks, his mind was on the whereabouts of the lightning bolt. He wondered who the culprit could be and where it was. He stood up as he threw the last of the crumbs. It was time to go to work. He walked through the park as he was thinking of the location of the thunderbolt. He had no dream about the lightning bolt and no prophecy attached to it. The demigod of trade looked around him, there were quite a few people around and he needed to go somewhere more quiet. He made his way to a secluded forest nearby the city which was in the same direction of Camp Half-Blood. The demigod sat on the ground cross-legged as he breathed in and exhaled with his eyes closed. His left hand was just above his lap as his palm faced upwards, and his right hand was near his chest closed, except for the index and middle finger which pointed upwards. He looked like a Buddha statue as he didn't even move an inch. Time passed on by as some birds landed on his shoulder for a while before flying away. The gentle breeze of the wind gently brushed against him as he was in a peaceful trance. Suddenly his eyes opened wide as there was a certain shine within them. He saw a vision. A vision of the son of the sea god he escorted to camp, entering the underworld for some reason. The sea urchin was accompanied by the satyr and the child of Athena that hated him. He blinked as the vision faded as his eyes returning back to normal after using the technique, recognition, a gift from Apollo for his services. There were two types of foresight he could use, a foresight for to see the future like he just did or for in battle, which showed small fragments due to being in battle, they had to be small. He stood up as he dusted himself off, he should get going to the underworld. Out of all the visions he could have gotten, it was them entering the underworld. The two of the three of them would probably hate his company there, but there was a very simple reason why he would go anyway. He simply didn't care. If they even thought of attacking him, then well, they'll end up like Luke. Or perhaps like one of his siblings. He walked towards the dirt path as he pulled out what seemed to be a small bronze marble and held it there. How should I do this? He wondered aloud. Should I run, warp or take a leisurely drive? After thinking about it, he chose the third option, seeing as the first and second option would get him there quickly, but he had to wait for them if they weren't there yet. According to himself, the son of Poseidon wouldn't know where the underworld was located and the other two, while they might possibly know the location, wouldn't be able to get there seeing how the entrance was in Los Angeles. They were still in New York and due to Percy being the son of ocean god, they wouldn't be able to get there by plane due to Zeus. Leisurely drive it was. He dropped the small bronze marble onto the ground and with just a little bit of godly magic, a motorbike appeared in its place. The motorbike was coated in metallic bronze, making it durable for combat against monsters that might attack him on the road. It was one of the gifts made by Hephaestus. For the same reason as Apollo's gifts and many other gods and goddesses, except for a few. He always enjoyed the god of forges' unique and helpful creations. On the back there was a storage case which contained a helmet which he put on as he put his hat in the storage case. After making sure the case was securely closed, he hopped on the bike and off he went, heading towards Los Angeles. However, back at Camp Half-Blood, Percy was feeling quite nervous at the quest he was given. If he failed to retrieve and hand in the lightning bolt, he's dead. Simple as that, he'll drop dead from where he stood. No pressure of anything. He voiced his opinions to Chiron about the person who guided him to camp being a better choice to retrieve the bolt. The kind-hearted centaur just gave the boy a kind smile and said that the blonde would also be looking too and that they might run into each other. That gave Percy some hope of his life being saved. Percy turned his head to see Grover and a blonde-haired girl named Annabeth Chase, the two were accompanying him on the quest. While Grover was his friend, even after the whole watching him thing and Annabeth seemed to be a nice girl if a little bossy. So he heard. As he walked to his quest companions, he couldn't help but marvel at how many campers there were here. It was quite big. Apparently Naruto had been doing some work seeing as he brought many demigods here. The Hermes cabin would have been filled to the brim if it wasn't for the fact that there was a Hestia cabin. The Hestia cabin was the biggest, warmest, and it felt just like home. The cabin was for those who go unclaimed and for the children of minor gods and goddesses who don't have a cabin, which there were quite a few. Sadly for the claimed demigods who were children of minor gods, they had to take this cabin. Due to there being much more survivors, Naruto had personally gone to Olympus and talked with the gods for building cabins for them. In the end he only got the Hestia cabin built and had many of the minor gods and some of the Olympians themselves. Due to his support of the Olympians and with Hestia herself, the cabin was created. Percy had to wonder how long the cabin has been around for as it was clearly created before Naruto had turned Zeus's daughter was turned into a tree. As Percy was joined by Annabeth and Grover, he didn't know how they will react if they met the mercenary demigod on their quest. It wouldn't be pretty. Honestly, Percy didn't understand the reasoning of the hate towards his savior, but if someone only saved you for a reward or trade, then he guessed he could understand. However, it seemed to be a dangerous job. Going out and bringing demigods to camp while fighting off monsters seemed to be a dangerous job. He didn't like the way Naruto was hated. It seemed petty. He cleared his mind as he and his companions set off to find the lightning bolt. He just hoped he found it before it was too late. Meanwhile, in a tree near the Aphrodite cabin, Selena was laying on one of the branches, twirling a bronze dagger in her hands. She sighed as she just twirled her dagger as she picked up a wood carving she was working on. She started to continue the carving to relieve her boredom. "How long are you going to be up there?" A voice called from below. Looking down she saw her best friend, Clarice LaRue. "Clarice, what are you doing?" she asked her best friend who had her spear over her shoulder. "What am I doing? I should be asking you that," the daughter of Ares said with a smirk. "Are you still working on that carving? I thought you finished that before your dearest brother returned." The daughter of Aphrodite glowered down at her best friend who just laughed heartily. "Don't give me that look," she told her friend. "You were the one who said that you'd finish it before then." Selena turned her back to her carving, a small noticeable pout on her face. "You know, if you keep glaring and pouting like that whenever someone brings it up, people will think you have a complex," Clarice told Selena who looked back down at her friend. "I don't have a complex, Clarice." "Sure," Clarice grinned as her tone told Selena that she didn't believe her at all. "Clarice," Selena warned as the daughter of Bloody War's grin grew. Selena's eyes were closed as she had a nice smile as she looked down at Clarice, whose grin turned into a smirk. "It's been how many years has it been since you had your crew?" Clarice didn't finish as the dagger used by Selena slammed into the ground in front of her. "What are you trying to imply, Clarice? You heard me, didn't you? It was pretty foolish of you to throw your only weapon at me too," Clarice said, tapping her spear on their shoulder. "I'm the only one who knows about your crew." Selena jumped from the tree as Clarice stepped back. "Clarice," Selena said as she flicked her hair back with an innocent smile. "You should stop making wild assumptions on your best friend." "What are you going to stop me?" she asked. "Or are you going to go get your big brother?" Selena grabbed her dagger from the ground as he swung it up only to be blocked by Clarice's spear. "Come on," the daughter of war said with a tone of disappointment. "If you stop dreaming and more practicing, maybe you'll impress." Selena went for a kick as Clarice got out of the way. "Ought to do better than that, Selena," the daughter of war smirked before Selena swung her dagger as Clarice focused on dodging and blocking her friend's attacks. Selena frowned as she saw the look on Clarice's face. She knew what buttons to press and they once again started a spar. It was an occasional routine between the two. The sun set for the day as the moon rose for the duration of the night. The demigod on the motorcycle pulled up as he stopped from his trip on the way to Los Angeles. He looked up at the moon as he took off the helmet. He blinked before he looked down the path he was going down. He swapped his helmet back for his hat before the motorbike turned back into a small bronze marble which he put away. It seemed it was going to be a peaceful night tonight. After having a quick bite to eat from some fast food place, he rented a room from a nearby hotel for the night. He threw his hat onto the bed as he sat on the end of the bed as he flicked the television on. An earlier news, a bus blew up today, a news reporter said as Naruto looked up. The bus exploded. The cause for explosion is unknown, but luckily no one was harmed. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the screen. It was the work of either demigods or monsters. That's when he spied the sea urchin and his companions in the background. That explained it. They were already on their quest to the lightning bolt. Sadly to say, those three getting the lightning bolt may not be possible. All the demigod of trade knew was that the underworld was connected with the three of them on their quest. The lightning bolt, Zeus's mighty weapon. The weapon Zeus can't go on without. Maybe, just maybe this could get Zeus to reward him for both his lightning bolt and for this daughter in the tree. He doesn't have much time left, he sighed thinking back to the tree. He turned the television off as he spent the remaining of his night thinking about holding the bolt for ransom or a trade. He was called the demigod of trade after all. Maybe he could finally get something from that old tantrum-throwing god of lightning. If Zeus didn't want his daughter returned to normal or his lightning bolt, then it was his fault. He better get some sleep so he could finish his journey to debt on Arrival Recording Studios. Chapter 5. The sun lit up the earth, eroding the darkness that covered the world. Naruto stretched his arms as he walked outside, the sun shining brightly as he wore his overcoat and tugged on his hat. His first order of business was to get something to eat. After finding a place for breakfast, he brought out his bronze motorcycle in a secluded area before hopping on after a change of headwear. He drove down the road before he noticed a shadow above him. "You?" A familiar voice screeched as the shadow lowered. Looking in his mirror he saw the fury he had killed when he brought Poseidon's boy back. "How dare you kill me before I retrieve the helm," she shrieked with an angry expression that he could only imagine as he kept his eyes on the road. "Don't ignore me." It was a good thing he was the only one on the road and that he wasn't in a town or city as he was surrounded by nothing but land. The Fury just watched as he sped off, ignoring her completely. She didn't take too kindly to that before she flapped her wings to catch up. Naruto just continued down the road looking in the mirror to see the Fury, whatever her name was, trying her hardest to keep up. He sighed as she wasn't giving up. "I'll make you pay for killing me," she shouted from behind him. She was slowly catching up before he continued on. She was still shouting, screaming and yelling, and he was starting to get annoyed. From his overcoat sleeve he pulled out a Mauser C96 and pointed it behind him. The Fury's eyes widened as a bronze-coated bullet shot through her skull as she dispersed into golden dust. She didn't drop any spoils of war, but Naruto blinked. "Helm?" He wondered as he continued down the road as he had already put away his pistol. Why did she think that the boy had the helm? Only the lightning bolt was stolen, right? Was Hades' helm of darkness stolen too? So both the helm of darkness and the lightning bolt were stolen, and when he thought about it, it left Poseidon in a bad light with Hades and Zeus. What next? Poseidon's trident was stolen too. He hoped not, that would be too much of a hassle to deal with. Is there a connection? He wondered as he turned around a corner. Must be, if it was just the lightning bolt it would be understandable, but both the bolt and the helm. There was definitely a connection with the two. "I'll just focus on getting to the underworld first," he said. Well, one reason was clear, the person who stole it was a whole different story. The vision contained the underworld, so something significant must be related to the underworld for it to be in a vision. He sighed as he continued onwards. His job seemed to be getting more difficult. It was a long drive as he left in the very early hours of the day, as he spent a majority of the day driving to Los Angeles. He stopped for some food before continuing on his 40-hour drive. In his first day he had already burned off 11 hours of driving, as he planned to burn off 14 hours during this trip. 25 hours would be down, which would leave 15 hours left. As he pulled up to fuel up his bike he watched as someone pull up on the other side. "Hey there," the person said as they got out of a mail truck. "Hermes," the blonde nodded in the god's direction. The messenger opened the back as he searched through the back of the truck and pulled out a parcel and handed it to the blonde. "What's this?" he asked the god. Hermes just smiled. "Something to help," he said. Naruto just looked at the god and back to the package as the god started to fill up the truck's fuel tank. Naruto placed the package in the storage case on the bike. He had no idea what help it would bring though. "You know, you can just run there, right?" Hermes asked. "You know you can also do the same, right?" "Touché, I could." Naruto paid for his fuel and hopped back on his bike. "Goodbye, Hermes." The messenger watched as the mercenary-like demigod drove off. He didn't even ask who the package was from, he chuckled. Naruto drove along the road. He never stopped to open the package he had gotten from Hermes, as his main priority was getting to his destination. As he drove, he kept at a relative pace so not to get pulled over. He didn't want to deal with that right now. Naruto sighed. It was going to be a long drive. At the end of the long drive, he stopped once again as he walked into a bar holding a marble. He approached a bartender as he ordered a bottle of beer and immediately threw it behind him. The bartender just stared in shock as a man caught it with ease. He looked at the bottle and spoke in a disbelieving tone. "Really?" he said after examining the bottle and approached the empty stool next to him. "Out of all the beer here, you get the cheap stuff." "Cheap stuff for a cheap god," the demigod said without turning. "My kids can handle their own, they don't need no escorting," he said, putting the beer back on the bar towards the blonde. "Hey. Get me the good stuff and not the stuff he's having," he shouted towards the bartender. "What are you doing here of all places, Ares?" "Causing war and picking up broads," was the god of war's reply as the bartender got the good stuff. Naruto quickly produced cash for the bartender before Ares even tried using intimidation tactics for free beer. He wasn't dealing with that shit again. He briefly wondered if that was the god's plan for free beer around him. The bartender quickly took the money before quickly moving on. Ares easily cracked open the beer before he started to chug down the beer. Naruto just opened his and began to drink too. He wasn't a big fan of the stuff, but he sure needed it now. The only reason he knew that Ares was here was that he saw the God of War's bike he usually drove around on nearby, which meant he was doing something else here too. His attention was attracted as Ares just told him to look at the TV. It was just of a normally game of football, but as the mist weaved around the television, it revealed a park. An amusement park, more specifically one of those love tunnels. He raised an eyebrow at the screen. Why did Ares show him this again? Oh, there's the reason right now, it must have happened early during the day or something. This was the second time he saw the trio on the television on his current job. Ahaha, Ares laughed. You should have seen their faces afterwards. He looked back towards the screen after another sip as the television faded back to its original screening. I'll bet they were furious. Oh yeah, the god nodded. Naruto remained silent as he finished his beer. His relationship with Ares was a bit difficult. He brought his kids to the camp and he was pretty cheap about it, so his children were soon placed low on his list. However, Ares did pay him under certain conditions. Battle. He fought the god of war for his payment. It was less about his children and more fighting with Ares to get payment from the war god. Naruto stood up as he began to walk away. Did you hear? Ares asked. About the stolen lightning bolt. I did. Naruto turned back to the god of war before he continued onwards. Ares just remained at the bar. So you're looking for it along with the brats too, huh? He finished his own beer before he left and drove away on his motorbike. Naruto looked down at the package in his hand. He should have asked who sent it, was it from a god or someone else? He walked over to the bed within another hotel room as he sat on the bed with the package in his hand. The package seemed quite fancy for just a box, no cardboard, no tape, just a brown box with the lid being slightly bigger than the small size of the box, with a cream-colored ribbon around it. He opened the package carefully. An icy blue dagger that felt cool like small ice cubes on top of a light white blue scarf. He placed the dagger back on the scarf, which also felt cool. He looked down at the dagger which was slightly transparent like ice but only slightly. He believed he knew who sent this. Aw, they grow up so fast, a voice said next to him as he jumped slightly. His head quickly turned to the culprit. Lady Hestia, he said in his usual tone he said to everyone else, but with more respect in it. Hey now, I told you countless times already to stop calling me Lady Hestia, the goddess of hearth said with a small pout as she appeared as a 9-year-old girl. So what's in the box? She asked with childlike curiosity. She went to reach for the box as Naruto simply held it up in the air, out of reach of the child-sized goddess. No fair, she said. You saw what it was. But there could have been something under it. I looked and there was nothing under it, Lady Hestia. I thought I said to stop calling me that. His nose caught whiff of something nice and delicious. Looking down, there was suddenly a tray of fresh homemade cookies and brownies. They were quite appetizing. He looked back to Hestia, still holding the box away from her, even though she made no movement for it. The goddess of the hearth, home and family just happily ate one of her brownies. Hestia, may I ask why you're here? He asked the goddess, no matter how alert he was she would always appear and he would always be off guard. Can't I visit my champion? She asked back. You can visit whenever you want and wish to, he replied. Well, come on, pick up a brownie or cookie, she told him as he picked one of Hestia's homemade brownies. Gods and goddesses would kill for this chance to eat one of her homemade foods. He never ate the brownie as he kept his focus on it as he placed the box down next to the bed they were sitting on. About that, he said. I still wonder to this day why you made me your champion. He fiddled with the brownie in his hand before he took a bit as the goddess stopped and looked in his direction as he took his hat off. I made you my champion for various reasons, Hestia told the blonde. One of those reasons was because you brought many demigods to camp, you saved their lives. In exchange for rewards and payment, he added onto hers. It's a dangerous job, you having been fighting monsters for a long time. Yeah, but. Naruto, you managed to get a cabin built for the demigods that don't have a cabin to stay, she brought up. Even though you could only build one, named after me, you gave more room and a place for them. Only because the camp was getting more crowded, he muttered as Hestia pouted. Come on, don't pull up those. I'm trying to compliment you, she said as he just ate another brownie. I'm just telling the truth. So am I. Sure you are, he said with a roll of his eyes. My actions you brought up are just for exchanges or for later exchanges later on. Sometimes I wonder if you're a child of a different god, she muttered. But still, just because you do trades and exchanges for your services, you are still my champion. Demigod of trade, champion of Hestia, Naruto said. I wonder what next title I get next. The tray of cookies and brownies disappeared and was replaced by more healthy foods. Ah, a scarf, Hestia said. And it's cool too, good for hot weather. Naruto turned to Hestia, blinked and looked down at where he put the box. The box was gone. He turned back around as Hestia was wearing his hat, wrapped the scarf around her neck, was now looking at the dagger. "Ah, this is cold too," she said before she looked up him, looking quite cute wearing his hat and scarf. "Just remember, don't point this at your eyes." "I know. Also make sure to eat healthy and get plenty of rest," she continued. "You should also expand your wardrobe, you're not in a war, and make sure to thank whoever gave you these gifts." "Ah, this is really nice. You're the one wearing it though." "Oh." She remembered something important. "Speak a little bit more, for me please. And smile more as well too." "I'll try." As he said this, his overcoat had already hidden a small smile. "And remember to say please and thank you," Hestia said as he kept giving advice a mother would tell their child. Despite her wearing the scarf he had gotten, his hat and appearing as a 9-year-old child, she gave a lot of motherly advice that night. The next morning, Naruto walked out with his hat holding the package that contained the scarf and dagger before it had magically vanished. Naruto stretched as he decided to run there now. Well, driving was fun, it took too long, and who knows how long it would take for the 3 demigods to get to the underworld anyway. He bent down slightly as he soon sped off, leaving a burst of speed in his wake. This would get him to the underworld faster than on the motorbike. As soon as he left he immediately went off-road. Off the beaten path, a minotaur was simply walking to find a demigod. It looked up as something ran past at high speeds before it shattered into gold dust. "This is pretty strong," Naruto thought as he looked down at the icy blue knife. He held the horn of the minotaur in his hand before saying a small prayer to Hestia as the horn disappeared. He was her champion and so he sent some spoils to Hestia. He continued to run towards his target. It wouldn't take too long at the speed and shortcuts he was taking. He slowed down once he reached Las Vegas as he decided to walk through the populated casino area. He took a detour and found himself looking at the Lotus Hotel and Casino. He turned around and was about to leave as one of the workers held a tray, a lotus flower. "Sir, would you like?" And the worker didn't finish as they stared into Naruto's eyes. "No," his simple reply was. The worker gulped before he stepped away. Naruto sighed as he glanced back one last time towards the hotel and casino before he went off towards Dead on Arrival Recording Studios. The demigod of trade looked up at the recording studio in question, having arriving some time shortly after leaving the Las Vegas. It had been some time since he was there as he was eating the food from there. It still took him some time, but he really enjoyed the gift of enhanced speed from Hermes. It also helped him with bringing demigods to camp too. Naruto entered the studio as the receptionist looked up. "Hello Charon," Naruto said as he pulled out a small bag of gold coins and placed it in front of Charon. "I need to see Hades. I'll see myself in." Charon blinked as he just watched as the demigod just stroll on it and entered the river Styx. Granted, this wasn't the first time Naruto had appeared before the entrance to the underworld. The blonde had been through the river Styx many times before. He could get through by himself. He did drop a lot of coins in front of him though. Naruto looked around as he stepped on the boat. It was still dark and gloomy as before. "Time to get to Hades," he muttered before he picked up a rowing oar and started to row like a gondolier. He silently made his way down the river Styx, ignoring basically everything around him. After getting off the boat, he walked to see a sign that said that he was in Erebus. The large 3-headed dog stood in his way. It stood between him and Hades. One of the 3 heads noticed him and began to growl. "Here we go again," he muttered. The 3 heads all growled as it turned to him and released a loud bark from all 3 heads. "Calm down, Cerberus." Cerberus ran towards the blonde who made no attempt to move as he was tackled by the large dog. 3 large tongues licked the blonde demigod. "That's enough Cerberus," he told the 3-headed dog. "Did 2 demigods and a satyr pass through here?" he asked a large dog. The 3-headed dog shook its 3 heads at once. "I see, I guess I can play with you for a while then," he said as the large dog jumped around. Naruto leapt up onto the guard dog and jumped off and walked to a very old chest and pulled out a ball. It was big enough to throw, but big enough for the guard dog. Naruto kicked the ball as the large dog chased it and picked it up with one mouth before Naruto kicked 2 more balls for the dog's other remaining heads. The blonde kicked a ball at Cerberus that dropped the balls at Naruto's feet. The blonde kept entertaining the large guard dog while also keeping an eye on the gate he was guarding. After entertaining the dog, he walked inside as the dog was sitting back in front of the gate. "Don't mind the intrusion," Naruto said as he walked into a room where Hades was sitting in his chair. "I wasn't expecting you," Hades said as he turned from his chair to the demigod. "Why are you here?" "I'm actually here on a job," he told the king of the underworld. "A job, huh? I heard that Zeus's lightning bolt was stolen recently." He started watching Hades's expression. "On the way, a little fury told me that your helm is gone. Is this true?" "You heard?" "Yes, I did," he nodded. "Then why come here then?" The vision, the son of Poseidon, is going to be coming here as a part of his quest, I believe. I'm hoping that it will connect it with the lightning bolt's whereabouts. I see, Hades said. Are you going to wait here until their arrival? Naruto simply nodded. Hades sighed. You're going to stay here until then, right? Naruto nodded again. I suppose you can stay here till then, Hades said. Then again, you are pretty accustomed here anyway. He muttered. Naruto looked around. She's not here? He asked as Hades looked at him. No, she's not, he told the demigod. Melano is out right now. I see. Do you know how many days it will be until they get here? Naruto shrugged, he had no idea. The god of the underworld pointed to a door. In there is a room you can use, he said. Oh, and before I forget, you'll be having a guest. Naruto blinked at Hades' words, a guest. Melano was out and it wasn't Hades' wife. Was it a demigod or someone else? He opened the door and noticed a barrier around the room, one that would stop a specific person from leaving the barrier. Once he entered the room, he had the urge to talk to the fates about what they were doing. Naruto. The guest turned around after the door was opened. Ms. Jackson? He asked as he saw Sally Jackson in the room. Chapter 6. Ms. Jackson? Naruto asked, seeing the brown-haired woman in the room. Naruto? She asked with clear surprise. Did you get brought here too? Naruto shook his head. No, but what are you doing here? Well, I was at home, cleaning the apartment and throwing and selling Gabe's things when I got a letter, she said. When I read it, I was suddenly here. Teleportation. He thought. How much do you know here? It's the underworld and there's Hades and his wife, she's nice, and one other woman, she listed off. They treat me well and they assured me I'm not dead. I just don't really know why I'm here. This barrier prevents you from leaving, as you probably know, he told the mother of Percy. In a few days your son will come here. He will? Why? He is trying to find something that's been stolen. The blonde turned around as he walked to the door he came through. What is he looking for? I cannot say, he told the woman before he left the confines of the room, slowly closing the door behind him. I see you met your guest, Hades said, turning to him from his desk full of paperwork. Naruto nodded. So you teleported her here through a letter? The god of the underworld just nodded. Indeed, it was the only way to retrieve my helm from the Poseidon child. Naruto kept quiet for a while before speaking. You don't suspect Zeus's child? This child is turned into a tree by you, it wouldn't be possible. True. But Poseidon's child could, Hades said. So that's why you took her, the demigod said. In order for the return of your helm, you would give his mother back. Unlike Zeus, he would definitely give me my helm back in exchange for his mother, the god of the dead said. It's a plan that I got from you when you turned Zeus's daughter into a tree. Naruto let out a small groan at how he had yet to be paid by the god of lightning. Zeus would probably be willing to bargain more for his lightning bolt than his daughter, Hades added as the blonde nodded in agreement. That reminds me, the tree. What about it? The mercenary-like demigod asked. How much is left? About a year or so. I see. Where's Melano? Naruto asked. I find it very unusual that she isn't here. She's gone to a haunted mansion or hotel to go spook some of the residents. Right. Ah, hello Naruto, a voice said. What are you doing here? Come to visit Cerberus. Hello, Persephone, Naruto nodded in her direction. I'm afraid not. Oh? Persephone blinked. What are you here for then? Just waiting for your future guests, he answered, the daughter of Demeter. I see. Ah. Have you met Ms. Jackson? She asked as he just nodded. I have. Naruto took one of the few seats in the room. How long will that be then? Depends on how long they take. Hades turned from the seemingly endless paperwork to Naruto. Are you perhaps going to take a walk with the spirits? He asked the blonde who took off his hat. He sadly shook his head. Not today, I'm not really feeling it. What will you do if Poseidon's boy also has the bolt on him? I'll take it, was the reply the god got. I shall take the bolt and hold it for ransom, obviously. I would sure love to see the look on Zeus's face when that happens, Hades laughed at the mental image. Would you like some tea? Persephone asked. Naruto nodded. Thank you. I'm still surprised you're wearing that, she said as he received a cup from the goddess of springtime. It's comfortable, was his reply. I thought Hestia fixed that. Hades said, working on the paperwork. Naruto took a sip of Persephone's tea. Herbal? He asked as the goddess nodded. Hades just sighed from his desk. Since you're here, when are you going to take that? The god of the dead pointed to a coffin. The coffin leaning against the wall was as black as midnight with white edges and an image of a white skull that looked more like a blood splatter. I shall leave it here, the blonde replied. I shall call upon it when I need it. I've been meaning to ask, what is that coffin used for? Persephone asked, looking at the coffin. It's a coffin. It holds dead bodies for burials. I know that, she said. But why is one here? Just in case. Naruto stood up after finishing his tea. If you're going back to the room, can you give Ms. Jackson a cup of tea? Naruto took the tea with a nod. I will. He opened the door as he passed through the barrier and closed the door softly behind him. Sally turned towards him as he held a cup of tea and offered it towards her. Thank you, she said as she took the herbal tea. It was pretty silent between the two as he turned around prepared to leave. Wait, she called out. Do you mind staying? She asked. He turned back to face her with a raised eyebrow. I'm usually alone here unless Persephone visits, she said. Do you mind keeping me company for a while? He said nothing as he turned on his heels and walked to the bed in the room as he sat on it facing the woman sitting on the chair. Thank you, she thanked him. She drank the tea as he looked around the room. Despite what you think, it was quite cozy. There was another door that led to a bathroom and the guest room held a bookshelf with many books, a desk with a few chairs, a bed and couch. The floor was a wooden one with a small soft carpet in the middle. You would never expect something like this in the underworld. Do you know how Percy adjusted to the camp? She asked as he looked back to her. He adjusted pretty well from what I know, he told her. Honestly, he didn't really know what happened at the camp as he immediately left, but the vision he had did show that he made friends with the Satyr and Athena spawn. I believed he made friends who are coming here with him, but I had to leave, he finished. You had to leave? Are you not a demigod? She asked. No, I am a demigod, he then walked over to the selection of books. I left because I was going to bring more demigods safely to camp. Sally made an O shape with her mouth as she understood. She didn't know how many demigods were in the world, but she suspected there were many. Naruto pulled out a book and started to read it as he sat back on the bed. May I ask who your godly parent is? He looked up from the book. Do you mean biologically? Yes, wait, are you perhaps? Naruto shook his head. No, my biological mother is Aphrodite. Aphrodite? She blinked rapidly. Really? She asked. Yes, I'm afraid so. Honestly, I didn't expect you to be her child, she said honestly. From what Percy said, it didn't sound like a child of Aphrodite. I get that a lot. You said biologically earlier, what do you mean by that? I guess you could say me and my mother are not on good terms, he revealed. However, I do see another goddess as a mother figure, despite her choice of appearance and maturity. Sally blinked at what she was hearing before her lips trembled. It wasn't the fact that him and Aphrodite weren't on good terms, it was the fact that he sounded embarrassed as he continued. All the previous times she seen her hurt him, he kept a cool and calm attitude and appearance, but now. He was embarrassed of his mother figure and it was clearly showing. Is something wrong? He asked narrowing his eyes as she drank her tea. And no, nothing at all, she persisted as he looked back to his book. Your lips are trembling. How did you know? You just told me. Oh, she blushed in embarrassment. Don't worry, whatever it was you were trying to hide, he then briefly looked up at her. It doesn't matter to me in the slightest. May I ask why you and Aphrodite are on bad terms? She asked politely. He shrugged. It's been years and one would find it pretty petty I guess, he said. So what happened? He flipped the page. I don't remember. You don't remember? She asked. Are you sure? You were asking me about my past, he brought up. It could be a touchy subject. Oh, I'm sorry, she apologized, she didn't think of that. Don't worry, he raised his hand. Honestly, it's more that I don't care. Excuse me? I stopped caring or never cared to begin with why she dislikes me, he told her as he looked her in the eye. I don't really care what she really thinks. However, I was quite surprised when she claimed me though, he said. Probably claimed me for something petty like to shame me or publicly shun me, something stupid like that. To Sally it sounded like Aphrodite hated him, but it sounded like he didn't even care in the slightest. Naruto continued to read the book as Sally placed her empty cup on the desk. She glanced to the only clock in the room, it was the only way she could tell if it was day or night here. Naruto had stopped reading the book, he guessed it was time for his own input to the conversation, or rather him start a topic. I'm quite surprised that you aren't trying to find a way past this barrier, he said closing the book after memorizing the page. Why is that? Well, at first I was shocked by Persephone had explained why I'm here in this room somewhat, she said. Well, she mainly just said that I was brought here for a few days and couldn't say why. She then looked over to him as he was at the bookshelf once more. Were you expecting me to be freaking out or trying to find a way out? Not really, he replied. Isn't it a normal reaction to want to get out of the place where you are practically being held? I suppose it is, she nodded. But, while it is a normal reaction, not all people are like that. That's true. Honestly, I do want to get out of here, she said rubbing the back of her neck. But, my hosts aren't that bad and I'm treated fairly, and apparently they are taking care of what's happening back home and at work while I'm gone. The blonde turned to her. They're nice people, aren't they? He asked. Yes, very. You said you bring demigods to camp, correct? He nodded. That's my job. What about outside of that? She asked. Don't you have a job outside of that? I do. May I ask what it is? She asked. Various. Pardon? I have more than one job, he told her. But, isn't that difficult? She asked the demigod. Not really, he said. It relieves the boredom at times. Can you tell me a few? I could, but they're not interesting, he said, never mind the fact that it also involved the world of gods as well. I could tell you about my job, she told him. Why? I've been asking you questions, Sally said. You haven't asked anything in return, nor have I brought up anything. But there is no need for you to. Sally shook her head. No, it wouldn't be fair to you otherwise. Naruto then sat back on the bed. Very well then, he looked towards her with all intention of listening. Talk and I shall listen. Well, I currently work at a place called Sweet on America, she told him. It's a candy shop and it's located in Grand Central Station. Is the business good? The location of the store does bring us daily customers, so I would say yes. Do you have any orange or red candy? He asked. I believe we do, we also carry blue candy so red and orange wouldn't be excluded, she said. She wondered about why he asked about the colors before she smiled when she figured it out. Orange and red, the colors that fires are commonly associated with, and a goddess associated with fire was Hestia. Ah, are these for Hestia? She asked as he didn't respond for a while. Yes, he nodded. The two stay in silence for a while before Sally brought up another conversation topic. What does your father think of you being in danger? She asked, causing him to blink. Does he know how dangerous taking your fellow demigods to camp is? He doesn't know about the camp or the danger, he told the woman. Why? She asked, and before she could say any more, he said two words that ceased her future questions. He's dead. Sally just looked at Naruto, who seemed to have a look of remembrance. I am sorry, she apologized, and like before she continued he spoke again. Don't worry, I've been over it for years and he has been dead for years, he told her. I do have to say he is a man I respect, and besides, you didn't know. But still. I guess you are in a similar boat seeing as you raised your son by yourself, he said, causing the clear-sighted woman to nod. My parents died when I was 5, she said. They both died in a plane crash about 150 miles south of Lake Ontario. There were no survivors. It was unknown what caused the crash, but after that my Uncle Rich took me in, she continued. In my last year of high school, he died of cancer and I had to work small jobs after dropping out of high school to take care of him. What are their names? He asked. Huh? The names of your parents, Ms. Jackson. Jim and Laura, she answered. Why? He didn't answer her right away. He walked to the door and looked back towards her. Honestly, I don't even know myself. Where are you going? She asked. Out for a bit, he told her. I'll be back in a second. She watched as Naruto exit the room. She had no idea what he was doing. Naruto walked through the room where he was recently talking with Hades and Persephone. Leaving already? Hades asked. Not yet, he replied to the god of the dead. Well anyway, I heard from one of the Furies that the child of Poseidon has entered the Lotus Hotel. And? Just thought I would let you know that they will be here soon, the god told the demigod, who basically just walks into his domain like a kid coming home from school, except more like a soldier wandering into his natural habitat of a battlefield, would be more like it. Thanks for the update. What will you do about the Athena child and the satyr? Hades asked. They clearly hold some resentment towards you. Whether they want to kill me or not, I don't care what they might do, he said truthfully. They should be smart enough not to try and attack me. Because you show no mercy, Hades said from his chair. You can be quite merciless, you know. If you show mercy to every enemy that attacks you, then they will just try to come back and attack you again, he said without turning to the god as he stood in front of a doorway. When a mosquito bites, you swat it. When a fly flies around you, you shoo it away and continue on with your day, rather than devote time to small annoying distractions. Hades watched as Naruto walked through the doorway as Persephone came back. Did something happen? She asked. Nothing happened, Hades said as he turned to his wife. Does Hestia still have that quote book? Naruto walked through the realm of the dead with a look of a little confusion. Why am I doing this? He wondered. I have no reason to do it. He let out a sigh. Damn, he lowly muttered. Better get this done now then. He then continued on his walk while briefly thinking if Hestia was somehow involved in some way. Sally was now looking at the tall bookshelf in the room as Persephone entered. The evening, the goddess of springtime said with a smile as she entered the room. Oh, hello, Sally greeted. How was your chat with Naruto? The goddess asked the mortal. I hope you two got along. I say we're getting along well, Sally said, pretty unsure about it. I think. Persephone chuckled. That sounds about right, she said. Is it true what he said about him and his mother not being on good terms? She asked the goddess. Honestly, she couldn't think of such a thing being possible, but there it was. She couldn't imagine herself hating her son, and she knew that he wouldn't think the same about her. Yes, it is true, Persephone said. He and Aphrodite are really the best mother and son combination you'll find, but him and Hestia on the other hand. He did say that she was like a mother figure. I got to say, they do act like a mother and son pair, Persephone smiled. And he is her champion. He is? Yep, didn't he tell you? She asked as Sally shook her head no. Well, between you and me, even though he is Hestia's champion, I also see him becoming her champion similar to that of adoption. Is adoption among gods even possible? Sally asked. It's not impossible, Persephone replied was fixing up some flowers to help brighten up the room more. But I guess adoption through champion would be a first. She turned from the flowers after she decided they were perfect. They were already like mother and son before he became her champion, and afterwards I believe that bond increased. There was the whole getting used to being her champion, and I'm pretty sure they didn't realize that they could see champion status as a form of adoption immediately, but shortly after that I think they realized, Persephone smiled. Judging the way he called her a mother figure and seemed to be slightly embarrassed about her appearance, I would say that they realized that. Really now, the goddess smiled with a glint in her eye. So they did see the possibility of adoption after he became her champion. There's only one way to really find out though. That's true, Persephone's smile grew. I'm also glad for Hestia. Sally turned to the goddess, wondering why as the goddess began to explain. Hestia is one of the 3 virgin goddesses, Persephone said as Sally nodded knowing. One reason is because of Kronos eating her and her siblings, and because of her oath, she can never have any children of her own. Oh. You see it too? She asked as Sally nodded. Then through this she could finally have child or rather be a mother. I'll bet she'll be an over-doting mother and loving every bit of it. Persephone walked over to the door. Is there anything you prefer for dinner? She asked. No, not really, Sally told her. The mortal watched as Persephone leave the room, she was now alone again. She looked over towards the bookshelf. She walked over and started to look at the book titles of which one to read. There were quite a few books to read, ranging from many genres like horror to things like romance, even books on mythologies, and not limited to only Greek. She had no idea which one to read. There was that one book Naruto was reading, it had a black cover, but there were a few of those here she wondered what was in that book. Naruto was walking back from his little walk. Welcome back, Persephone said as she carrying a tray of food for Sally. Naruto nodded at the goddess as Hades noticed something about the blonde. Ah, did something happen? He asked his sister's champion. What do you mean? I'm the god of the dead, Naruto, he told the blonde, knowing the blonde he already knew what he knew. I'll give you 1 hour max. Thanks. Naruto walked back towards the room once more and opened the door. He let Persephone through as she carried the tray to the desk. Here you go, Persephone gave a slight nod before leaving as Sally nodded in thanks. Sally then turned to the remaining person. She noticed something in his hands, something blue and glowing dimly with his grip. What do you have there? She asked. Naruto held his hand up as he released 2 small floating blue lights that were similar to small flickers of flames. Sally watched as they started to change, they were tiny ball of blue flames, but in fact spirits. The clear-sighted mortal gasped loudly at what she was looking before her, she couldn't but let the tears roll down her face at who she was looking at. Mom? Dad? She asked. Sally? Is that you? Laura asked. Sally did inherit her looks. Sally, my how you've grown. Jim said and it seemed Percy inherited some looks from him. How Sally asked as the spirit of her mother comforted her with a hug. This young man was looking for us, Jim said. He said something about tying up loose ties and meeting with you again for one more time. Sally looked towards the demigod of trade, tears running down her face as she mouthed a thank you seeing as her mouth moved her words were too busy with the reunion. Naruto tipped his cap to the trio as he opened the door. You have 1 hour at the most, he said. That's the most Hades will allow. That was nice of you, Persephone smiled. Naruto just pulled his cap down. I'm not nice, I just felt sympathetic, that's all, he said. It doesn't matter why you did it, all that matters is you did something nice for someone else, the goddess of flowers' smile grew. As expected of Hestia's champion. I guess this means she has been rubbing off on you as your mother. I can't wait to tell her about your act of kindness. Naruto then turned to her. Please don't. She will never let it drop, he said, and now Persephone knew what Sally was talking about when Naruto brought up Hestia. I see, that means you two really do act like mother and son, her smile grew. I'm betting that means after you became her champion all those years ago, you two thought of the idea of adoption through champion status. Naruto did answer her until he gave a small nod. Persephone clapped her hands together. I knew it. After all these years. she sounded quite happy. I guess that now makes me your cousin and aunt now. Naruto sighed as he kept walking despite the currently chatty goddess beside him right now. I must admit I am quite surprised as well, Hades said with a similar smirk. But then again. Don't you start too, the blonde let out a groan. Hold on, I'll get Hestia. I said don't. Naruto rubbed his temple as a voice behind spoke softly. You did a really good job, I'm proud of you, the voice belonged to a male, and the voice seemed to hold a lot of love and pride. Naruto smiled at hearing the voice. Thank you, he whispered back. Same back to you. Chapter 7. Naruto left the two gods as he walked back into the hallway that lead to the spirits he got. Thank you for your cooperation, he said to seemingly no one. If it wasn't for your help, then I would be looking for who knows how long. There was no reply as the blonde expected, but he got a ghostly smile in return formed from mist. The mouth moved but no words came out, but he understood what was being said. He turned around and walked back into the room where Hades and Persephone were, and it seemed Hades was talking to someone through Iris. Do you still have that quote book you made? Hades asked. I do, she said tilting her head. Why? There's another one you have to add to it. Oh, and Persephone didn't finish as a hand covered her mouth. That's all, just a quote, Naruto said. Hestia looked at Naruto and Persephone as the silenced goddess island conveyed that she would tell her later. Naruto removed and dropped his hand to his side as Hestia had already written the quote that Hades said. You're still writing those down? He asked the goddess of the hearth. Hestia, who was still looking like a 9-year-old child, just smiled and held up the book. The book had childlike blocky font of his name with each letter of his name being a different colored font. Naruto's book of quotes. Hestia just held it up with a happy child smile on her face. She looked quite proud of it. Let me read you a few, she said before Naruto coughed. Thank you Hestia, but we're fine, he said as Persephone pouted in disappointment. Aw come on, the wife of Hades whined. You two are supposed to be mother and son right? Come on. Let her embarrass you like a mother would. Hestia blinked before smiling a large smile. Yes, she agreed. Hades just smirked at Naruto. There's no way out of this now you know. I know. You can call me mother, mom or mum now, Hestia said. Now that more people know, you should really start calling me that. The goddess pouted. He still calls you Hestia? Persephone asked. And I thought after becoming your champion and your little adoption afterwards he would call you mother by now. I know right. It's been years. Hestia, still appearing as a child, said as she threw her arms to her sides. It's always been Hestia or Lady Hestia, all respect. She then hid her face in her hands. I fear that I will never get a rebellious phase. I think it's a little too late for a rebellious phase, Naruto silently whispered. Oh. Hestia sprung up from her hands. I got something for you, she said to her champion. You do? Yep, she then held a pile of neatly folded clothes. New clothes, you can't wear just the same type of outfit, Naruto, she lightly scolded. It doesn't matter if you use your control over clothes on them. A new wardrobe is the way to go. Can it wait till later? He asked. I'm sort of waiting for something. Ah yes, the stolen bolt right? She asked. I heard from inside the camp. She then pouted at him. You should have come and said hi to me, I was at the camp's hearth you know. Sorry, I'll remember to do it next time. Hestia smiled cheerfully. Is there anything else you would like to tell me? She asked as Naruto's cap hid his eyes from the eldest of the six as his eyes darted to Persephone. No, nothing else, she said. Hestia smiled as she waved. Well, see you soon, she said before looking at Naruto specifically. Bye son. Then the iris message vanished with an extremely large smile after she said the word son. She really likes the mother role, Persephone smiled. I guess she does, the son said. Well nephew, Hades started. I don't know how long they have been in the hotel for, but if they're on a quest. They might fail it and both Helm and the bolt will be kept from us, Naruto finished. The Lotus Hotel would waste their time for their quest. Are you going to help them? No, Naruto said. Not yet if they are indeed on a quest, knowing Zeus he will wait for the summer solstice. If they are still not here a day or so before I'll go. It's not the fact of potentially helping them for your services is it? Hades asked. It's the hotel itself, or rather inside the hotel. Hades leaned back into his chair. What are you going to do till then? Naruto sat in one of the spare chairs. I don't know, he said. Cerberus is still protecting the gate. Should have brought a book from the bookshelf. Want me to get Naruto's book of quotes? Naruto sent a dull look at the god. You a god of comedy now? He asked. I thought all your humor was dead. I could say the same to you with that. Ha. 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 Hades sarcastically said giving Naruto the same look. You brought it upon yourself, the blonde retorted. Meanwhile in the dreaded Lotus Hotel, Percy was walking around before he got separated from both Annabeth and Grover. He was having a blast. He walked around playing the games, eating the food. With all the things they went through, Ares making them go into Hephaestus's trap, the exploding bus, Medusa, this was a well-deserved break. They had plenty of time to find the bolt and bring it back to Olympus. He was brought out of his fun as something hit him on the back of his head. Ouch, the son of Poseidon turned around and saw that same green overcoat that killed the Fury and brought him into the world he never knew. Naruto. He whispered. He watched as Naruto raised his arm and pointed to his right side, where the entrance was. Percy blinked as he looked over towards the entrance and saw the mist spun around like the top of a small tornado or whirlpool and there, Percy saw the outside world. "You're running out of time," Naruto's voice echoed in his mind. "You have approximately 1 day left." Percy watched as the world looked very different to when he walked in. Why would the mist hide the time of day? Oh yeah, to hide the passage of time if they walk near the entrance. Naruto turned around as he disappeared into the crowd walking around. "Wait." Percy said as he started to run towards the disappearing blonde. "Naruto, hold up." That's when Percy really looked at the people around him. One person looked like they came straight out of the 80s, another looked like they emerged from the 70s. "Naruto. Naruto. Wait." Percy tried to find the blonde as he passed people. Sorry, excuse me." Percy looked around trying to find the blonde, but alas, he was already gone. Percy turned around and immediately went to find Grover and Annabeth. "Can you see him?" a small voice asked. "You heard it too right." "No, I don't," the older of the two voices said. "I'm afraid we either missed him or he already left." Percy ran past some of the other guests as he found both Grover and Annabeth. "Guys, we need to leave," Percy said, getting looks from the two. "Right now?" he persisted. "Why? What's the rush?" Grover asked. "We only have around 1 day left for our quest." Naruto watched from the entrance of the occupants inside before walking away, and when he was offered a plate of lotus flowers, he flung the plate up from underneath into the hotel employee's face. Naruto later found himself back in a chair near the Lord of the Dead. Over the days that passed, he wandered through the underworld, played with Cerberus and talked with the 3 people in the underworld. Persephone was more teasing with the mother-son relationship he had with Hestia, more likely trying to find embarrassing things that would happen in a normal family. Hades was too busy with the paperwork of the dead, but still joined in their conversation. He and Sally talked more, especially after allowing her to see her parents one more time. Ever since he allowed her to meet the spirits of her parents for an hour, she insisted on him calling her Sally instead of the usual Ms. Jackson. "I see you helped them out of the hotel," Hades said. "I helped no one," Naruto said. "I just gave them a push." "Anyway, they will be here soon," Hades said. "I will let you know when they get here." Naruto got up, nodded and left to the guest room. "Ms. Jackson," he said as he entered. Sally looked up from a book she was reading on the bed. "Please, call me Sally," she said. "We went through this." "Sorry," he apologized. "Anyways, your son is going to be here shortly. Please remember what Persephone told you," he told her. "I know, I remember," Sally said. "I'll see him briefly before he and Hades negotiate. I hope he remembers to use his manners." "Hades will inform me when he is almost here," Naruto told her as he sat on the chair near the desk. "I shall give you some company here for the meantime." "Did anything happen to Percy on his quest?" she asked. "Only one thing which I had to help with," he revealed, causing worry to swell up within Sally. "Mainly they entered a hotel where they lose the sense of time. I just gave them a push in the right direction." "Well, thank you for waking my son up," she smiled. She looked back down at the book she was reading. "I can see why you enjoy this book," she said, reading a black-covered book. A tale about Oda Nobunaga, more specifically one of his closest samurai, which also includes the tale of various yokai. It's quite an interesting tale. "Yes, when knowing the world of gods, it's hard to tell if stories like that are telling the truth or simply fiction now," he said. "The book is more history-focused with touches of yokai mixed in. It's a good read." "Yes, I find myself enjoying the interactions of the main character Mume and Oda," she said during their small chat. "Yes, I enjoy it a lot," he said. "Plus, since it's history-focused first, it helps me touch back with my homeland." Sally looked up at him. "My father is Japanese," he told her, causing her to look embarrassed. Persephone opened the door to see them talking. "Sorry to interrupt, but they're here," she said. "More specifically, they're at Cerberus." Naruto stood and walked past Persephone as he headed towards where he would meet the 2 demigods and Satyr. Naruto sat a chair as he waited. The trio had made it past Cerberus without too much ease, which set up alarms for them. The large 3-headed dog wanted to play, but still let them past. "Excuse me, Hades?" Percy asked as they walked into a room. "Hades isn't here," a voice said in a seat that faced away from them and faced a rather unusual coffin. The 3 watched at the person who rose from the seat was the demigod of trade himself, Naruto. Percy heard the angry gasps of both Annabeth and Grover as the blonde now faced them. Naruto, Annabeth all but hissed trying to keep calm. Naruto, Percy said getting the blonde's attention briefly. Where's Hades? He's here, but not here. Percy was about to ask what that meant before he saw their own shadows stretch out and join as one as the Lord of the Dead rose from those shadows. Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon, Hades said. Are you here to give me what is rightfully mine? He asked. Percy blinked. What? No, I'm here for the lightning bolt. Naruto stepped 1 foot closer to the trio. Give me the bolt, sea urchin, he said with no real tone that showed no hate towards the son of the sea god. But I don't have the lightning bolt, Percy said. Tech again, Naruto pointed towards him. Have a look, you will find it, I can sense it. Don't trust him, Percy, Annabeth told the son of Poseidon. What Naruto says is true, I do sense the bolt on him, Hades said before Percy pulled out the lightning bolt. Wait, hold on, I can explain, Percy said before Hades 2 stepped closer. Now that you've shown that you have the bolt, give me back my helm, Hades said. Helm? He asked. I don't have your helm. Hades stared at the demigod before he snapped his fingers revealing Sally Jackson. Mom? Percy shouted. Percy, she said, but Percy saw that she didn't look like she was in danger, but how did she get here? You're behind this, aren't you? Annabeth frowned at Naruto who promptly ignored her. If you give me back my helm, I would return your mother, Hades said as Naruto held out his hand to Percy. Give me the lightning bolt, Percy, he said the name of the son of Poseidon. Don't listen to him, Percy, Annabeth said glaring at Naruto as Grover was just making angry sheep noises. You heard what he did to Thalia. He turned her into a tree. Anger is clouding your judgment, Annabeth, he said smoothly. You're disgracing your mother acting like that. Annabeth just glared harder at him for that. This is the real world, Annabeth, he said calmly. Not everything goes the way you plan, and the world will knock you around sooner or later. Your hate is reasonable, using that hate to empower yourself is a good idea, but if you continue hating blindly like that you will fall into it, he said as Hades' eyes went to Naruto probably thinking about that book. Both of you are being consumed by your own hate and anger, without anger there is no enemy, but when hatred consumes you, you'll perceive enemies everywhere. Let me give you some advice, never hate your enemies, it affects your judgment. Annabeth gritted her teeth. Who are you to lecture me about disgracing my mother? She asked with a growl. When you disgraced your own mother the day you were born. Naruto didn't even blink as he looked down towards her as Percy was about to say something for going too far. Mother? You still talking about Aphrodite? He asked. She is not my mother. Then who is? Percy found himself asking. The only mother I ever need has been with him for years now, he said. My mother is Hestia. He said it. Both Hades and Persephone, who walked in unnoticed, smiled. Well, Persephone had a large smile as she immediately went to contact Hestia, while Hades smirked. Sally wasn't that shocked, but the other 3 were definitely shocked by the news. Percy, hand me the bolt, Naruto said as Sally looked to his mother, who nodded at him to give him the bolt but was stopped by Annabeth as Grover was still in shock at the statement. Percy, your mother is captured. She told him. Naruto isn't that bad, he said. Who did you think brought your mother here? She whispered. Percy then looked at Naruto. Did you bring my mother here? He asked as Naruto shook his head. He's lying to you, Percy. Percy had no idea what to think until he heard his mother. Percy, Naruto didn't bring me here, she told her son. You can trust him. Enough. Hades shouted before Annabeth was about to speak up. Give me my helm. Hades snapped his fingers as skeletons started to rise. We need to get out of here, Grover said back to his senses seeing the skeletons. Give me the helm bolt, both Hades and Naruto said with their arms stretched out. Something flashed in Percy's mind as he looked at the bolt. Ares. He was the one to give me this. He said as they held the pearls. Naruto. Yes. Do you promise to get my mother out of here if I fail to get the helm in time? He asked. I will. Then here's the payment up front. Naruto then crossed the distance as he took the bolt from Percy as he used a pearl to escape the underworld, followed by Annabeth and Grover. Once Percy was gone, the skeletons disappeared. So Hades should have seen that coming, but who did he actually steal the bolt and helm? Hades wondered before turning to Sally. You are free to go, he told her. The mist will clear up after tomorrow and everything will go back to normal with your job. Thank you, she bowed. Yes, he called you his mother. Persephone practically giggled into an iris message causing Naruto to pull down his cap. And yes, more quotes. I let Persephone take you back when she's done, Hades said. Is she always like this? Sally asked the two. The silence was all she needed. Love you too, son. Hestia said from the iris message causing Naruto to shrink deeper into his overcoat. He turned around and started to leave for multiple reasons. I'll see you soon. I got a helm to find. They watched as Naruto left the underworld as the god of the underworld and the clear-sighted mortal turned to Persephone chatting away with Hestia. "This may take a while," Hades said. "You may want to take a seat." Alright," she said as she sat down in the chair which was very comfy, probably better than the seats in Olympus in Hades' opinion. Percy, Annabeth and Grover were on a rather deserted beach after they used the pearls that sent them into the middle of Santa Monica Bay, which luckily they were brought back to the shore thanks to some lifeguards. "Why did you give him the bolt?" Annabeth asked. "He's not a bad guy," the son of the sea said. "He turned one of my best friends into a tree." "You said he's the demigod of trade, right?" he asked. "Doesn't that mean that he'll just turn her back once Zeus gives him something?" "But Zeus. He would do anything to get his bolt back, right?" As the two argued back and forth on whether to trust Naruto or not, Grover looked around the beach nervously, not liking it how empty the beach was. "I have a bad feeling about this," he muttered nervously. "You kids done arguing?" The three turned around as they saw the god of war standing there. "Ares?" they all shouted. "You lied to me," Percy shouted. "You're the one who stole the lightning bolt." "I didn't steal the lightning bolt," Ares said. "Gods can't steal other gods' symbol of power." "Then who did you get to steal it?" Annabeth asked. "Was it your children? Or was it Naruto?" "It doesn't matter who stole it," Ares said as he pulled out the Helm of Darkness. "Besides, if I hired Naruto to steal it, he'll just trade it right back and then there will be no war." "So that's your goal? To create a war between the gods?" the sea urchin shouted. Of course, the god of bloody war grinned. "Wars between families are the most entertaining wars." "Ah, there's nothing like watching your siblings rip each other to shreds," Ares grinned at the thought. Percy gritted his teeth as he drew at his blade riptide as both Annabeth and Grover just stared at him like he was crazy. "Percy, what are you doing?" Grover asked as the god grinned. "Now you're talking my language," Ares then conjured a large sword. Before the two could do anything, they both saw a ball of fire float in the air before it started to spin and grow in size, before he practically went out of control like a raging inferno. The flames grew into the size and form of a human as an arm shot out, a green-sleeved arm. Out of the flames came Naruto without a hint of being burned, unscathed by the flames. "So you're here, Naruto," Ares said putting his large sword on his shoulder. What are you doing here?" Percy asked the tall blonde. "I thought you were going straight to Olympus." "And what about?" "Your mother is already home," the blonde said. "Why I'm here. I was hired by Hades to retrieve his helm." Annabeth just glared at the blonde and before she could say anything, Naruto glanced towards her. "It is not wise to judge others based on your own preconceptions and by their appearance, Annabeth." His eyes darted back to the god of war as he, Ares and Percy stood in a triangle. "This is their quest, you shouldn't interfere," the god of war said. "I'm not a god so I can interfere with quests," the blonde replied. "What about you? Unless you're a part of the quest, you shouldn't be interfering too." Ares grunted as he lowered the blade of his shoulder. "Just let me fight the Poseidon brat." "No," the greatcoat-wearing man said. "Your powers are limited against those on a quest, right? Then a better fight is right here in front of you." Ares' full and grin grew. "Now that's more of a challenge," Ares then held up the Helm of Darkness. "You're fighting me for this, right?" Naruto nodded. "Then if you win, you'll get the helm." Ares suddenly lunged forward wielding his bronze sword as a bronze sword shot from Naruto's sleeve into his hand as he parried the attack. They started striking at each other as their swords clashed against each other. Naruto kicked the god of war away as he jumped back pulling out his Mauser C96 and began to shoot at the god of war with bronze-coated bullets. After a few shots at the god, the gun stopped firing. Naruto glanced down and back to the god in annoyance as he dodged a slash from the god as he put the gun away. The god was on the offensive as Naruto blocked the oncoming slashes as he walked backwards. "I think we should get out of the way," Percy said as the others agreed. "Come on. Show me that warrior's spirit." Ares shouted as he went for a punch with his free hand as their swords clashed together in a struggle to overpower the other. Naruto slugged Ares in the face as Ares' fist crashed into his gut. Ares pulled his sword back and went for a knee which Naruto blocked with his own. The god of war went for another punch as the blonde caught it with his fist. The demigod reeled his head back before slamming it into the god's own temple. Naruto jumped back from the god and fixed his hat up as Ares threw a fireball at him, quite a large fireball as well. Naruto responded by sending his own fireball. The two fireballs clashed and through the flames a pair of swords crossed each other's path. "Yes, that's it." Ares grinned as he swung his blade to the side as Naruto jumped and landed on the sword's large blade and kicked Ares in the head hard. He quickly jumped off the blade as Ares ignited the blade into fire. Naruto rolled back while managing to keep his hat on his head. Ares swung the sword of fire over his head and once it made contact with the ground, sent a sea of flames straight towards the mercenary demigod. Naruto jumped to the side as Ares was already there as he swung down again. Naruto slashed at the sand, causing it to shoot up into the god's eyes just as the sword hit the ground, causing a lot of sand to fly up into the air. Ares looked around for the blonde, but he was nowhere in sight until a fist connected with his jaw from under the sand. "Lucky hit," Ares grumbled, rubbing his chin as he got some distance between them before his sword started to burn more intensely. "There is no luck in war," Naruto said. "There is only your skill and power." Ares laughed as his sword seemed to grow in size. "Yes, that's right," he grinned a bloodthirsty grin. "Now let us continue." He shouted, but it sounded like it should have continued. "As bloodletting beasts," Naruto finished. Ares swung his sword, sending an arc of flames from the blade as Naruto stuck to dodging and ducking. Ares noticed a shadow beneath him as he looked up to see a giant fist made up of water. The fist of water crushed into Ares, and it was much harder than the god would have expected. His blade lost its flame as Naruto crossed the distance within that time and swung at the god. Ares grabbed the blade with his hand as Naruto grabbed Ares' sword with his. Naruto opened his mouth as a sea of raging flames came from his mouth and Ares' face got burnt and kicked Naruto away from him. Naruto held his bronze sword up before it disappeared into his sleeve. Ares watched as the blonde got into a fighting stance. Ares twirled his sword as it changed into a spear. The god of war threw his spear as it sailed through the air toward the blonde. The mistake of Aphrodite kicked upwards when the spear was near before in a burst of speed headed towards the god. The spear returned to the god and before he could grab it, it disappeared, it got slapped away. Naruto's fist landed right in his face before he sent his own fist into his opponent's. Ares kneed Naruto over and over as Naruto gripped the god's face and his hand ignited. Before Ares could do anything, they were both swept away by a large current. They were both pushed into the sea. The two had separated themselves during the time they were brought underwater. Ares narrowed his eyes keeping a close eye on the blonde before Naruto swam like a torpedo and crashed into the god of war and when the god of war attacked, he was nowhere to be seen. Ares was hit by Naruto swimming past before he grabbed the blonde, the second time he passed and found himself back on dry land. Naruto immediately turned around and his fist was caught by the god who lifted him over and into the sand. Ares went to stomp on Naruto before his foot was caught by the blonde. Using his other hand, Naruto threw a fireball at the god. "That small fireball isn't going to work," Ares said as his large sword reappeared in his hands as he easily held it in one hand but couldn't move his arm. "Hey." He looked back at Naruto, who already stood up but much further away from the bloodthirsty god. Ares tried to move his arm as he saw the blonde's right fist engulfed in flames. His arm bent backwards, but it wasn't a demigod controlling his body, it was his clothes. He was wide open before the blonde dashed forward kicking up sand due to the speed as Ares saw a small near-transparent ice-blue dagger within the engulfed flaming hand. The dagger pierced the god's body before much to his surprise he started to freeze in a solid block of ice which started to spread. Ares grinned as the helm that appeared in his hand disappeared into Naruto's hand, which the blue dagger disappeared. "A new toy?" the god of war asked. "Something like that," Naruto said as he held the helm to his side as a skeleton hand shot up from the sand, grabbed the helm, and pulled it down into the underworld. Naruto started to walk away. "You have still yet to bare your fangs." Naruto turned his head to Ares. "The same could be said for you too during that fight," Naruto continued walking. "Now hurry up and melt that ice, I got a bolt to ransom." "DCH, you got to savor your battles, especially against foes that are worth the time," Ares started to melt the ice with his flames. Naruto walked off the beach before he threw up a drachma into mist he created. "Iris, please tell the Olympians and Hestia that I will be there shortly with their precious bolt," he said before he noticed a smile within the mist. "What are you smiling at?" "Oh nothing," she said in a sing-song tone. "I let Mother Hestia know first," she said as the mist disappeared. "Naruto." "Wait." Percy called out. Naruto turned towards the demigod. "I know you're going to Olympus but can you bring me?" "No." "Why?" "Because you wouldn't survive the methods I would use to get there." Oh. Can you at least tell Zeus to not strike me down or anything?" "Sure. Thanks." Naruto then walked around a corner and when Percy peeked around, he was gone. Naruto looked down at the lightning bolt as he stepped onto Olympus. He started to walk past minor gods, goddess and other residents. Over here, Naruto saw Hestia waiting for him and unlike before, she wasn't as her child self but her beautiful adult self. Her child form was cute and adorable, while her adult form was instead beautiful. "I see you got the bolt," Hestia said. "Are you really going to ransom it?" "Yes," Naruto said. Zeus would do anything for his bolt. Naruto pushed the large door open as he walked in to see the Olympians, except for Ares, there. Zeus looked at the mortal who walked right up to them. The others gods and goddesses looked at Naruto with various expressions. Most of them were kind looks, 2 were not pleased, and 1 was neutral. Zeus, he looked at the god of lightning. "Naruto," the immortal muttered. "I came to give you something," he said as he showed the lightning bolt. Zeus's hand reached out before the bolt disappeared into Naruto's greatcoat. "You forget Zeus," Naruto never ceased eye contact with the god. "I'll give it to you at a price." "Preposterous." The king shouted. "Zeus," Demeter said from her seat. "We all had to do the same thing. It's only fair you give him something in return." "Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to give him something, who knows, this may be the last time it'll happen," Apollo said from his chair. Zeus turned to Apollo's twin who shrugged. She was rather neutral when it came to the child of Aphrodite. On one hand he wants absolutely nothing to do with her, but on the other hand, he had no qualms about killing her hunters if they attacked him. Since the majority of the gods were just saying to just pay him for retrieving the bolt like the rest of them, Zeus silenced them in an instant and focused his attention on Naruto. "Before I take my bolt back, who stole it?" "You'd have to ask Ares," he said. "He's the one who took the lightning bolt from the real thief." "What are your demands?" "Electrokinesis," Naruto said. "You want me to give you the ability to use my lightning?" Zeus roared. "I do not agree to this." "Maybe Ares would like to keep this bolt," Naruto trailed off. Zeus growled before his eyes widened as Naruto was walking away. "Maybe I should give it to non-gods." "Fine," Zeus surrendered. "I'll bestow upon you my powers of lightning." Naruto was soon engulfed by electricity, and when it ended he called upon the lightning as it sparked around his fingers and shot it into the ground. Naruto turned around and threw it to the god of the sky. "That wasn't so hard, was it, Zeus?" Hera asked, causing the god to grumble. "It was definitely much easier than with Thalia." "Now, he'll have it forever and I can't take it away," the king mumbled. "I guess that ends the meeting then?" Dionysus asked, appearing outside of camp for the meeting and immediately going back. "Thank you for saving Percy," Poseidon said as Hestia came up and placed a hand on Naruto's shoulders. "Speaking of which," Zeus said. "You leave him alone." Naruto was the one who said that. "If I recall, it wouldn't be fair to have your child continue to live as Poseidon's dies." "He's right, father," Athena said as she was about to leave. "Fine, but turn my daughter back to normal," Zeus said. "Are you going to pay me?" Naruto asked. "If not, then the answer's no. I mean Poseidon did it, so why can't you, fair king?" Zeus gritted his teeth as Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Also, you are running out of time," he said to the god. "You have about 1 year, so hurry up." The god of the sky grumbled before he disappeared in a flashy way. All the gods and goddess were leaving with the parents of the children he brought to camp, gave him small thanks. Only one goddess remained as Hestia walked to the door. "I'll wait outside," she said as he nodded before he turned around to see Aphrodite sitting at a small table that was conjured up. Naruto sat down on the opposite end as Aphrodite eyed his clothing. "Still wearing that ugly thing?" "Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I thought you knew that," he quipped back. Naruto then made the whiskers marks on his face appear. "And you still have those things," she then started to stir a small cup of tea. Naruto picked up his own tea after eyeing it carefully, deeming it was safe, he drank the tea. Naruto didn't need to look at Aphrodite to see that she was looking at him in disgust. "You know," he started. "Someone brought up the reason you hate me recently and I couldn't remember what petty reason you had and judging from your look now after all these years, neither do you." He saw her glaring at him. "Or maybe not," he said, placing the cup down and standing up. "If all these was to insult my wardrobe, then that's quite petty. But I think I know why you claimed me, because I showed your abilities various times," he said mainly to himself. "But you'd use that to your advantage on shunning me or something." "Don't get the wrong idea," she told him. "The only reason I'm talking to you is to get you manners when speaking to your mother." "I'm sorry, but my mother is standing out there," he pointed to the large doors. Naruto tipped his cap and began to walk away. "I'll see you next time, Aphrodite." "Don't you walk away from your mother," Aphrodite hissed as she stood up. "The only reason you're here today is because of me, I demand to be treated with respect from you, my greatest mistake." Naruto looked back at Aphrodite. "You're a goddess, what you're saying right now is just childish. Grow up." Aphrodite just fumed as Naruto walked away. "Are you okay?" Hestia asked as Naruto looked at her. "I'm perfectly fine, however I felt like I was the adult," he told her as she noticed something behind her. "You weren't listening, were you?" "Me? No at all." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Then what is behind you in your hands?" "Nothing to be concerned about," she said. "Anyway, you promised to try out those clothes, right? You finished your job after all." Naruto sighed. "Yes, I'll wear the clothes you got me." "Good." She chirped before her cheery mode dropped. "I hope they're the right size." Naruto just sighed. He just hoped they were the right size for both their sakes. Chapter 8. Naruto stood in Hestia's temple as he walked in wearing his new clothes. He wore long black pants, a pair of dark gray sneakers, a white jacket with a popped collar similar to his greycoat's neck guard, and a gray shirt underneath the white jacket. He zipped the jacket just under his neck and above his chest, which showed the shirt underneath. His whiskers faded before he looked from the mirror to Hestia, who was turned back into her child form and smiled, causing him to zip up the jacket fully, which zipped the collar neck guard together, which hid the lower part of his face from the eyes down, much like his old previous outfit. Hestia walked towards Naruto, who looked back at the mirror he was looking at. When he turned around, he saw Hestia back in her adult form, smiling motherly at him before she zipped his jacket to how he had it before he zipped it up. "Naruto," she said with a motherly tone. "You don't need to hide your face anymore." "I don't hide my face," he replied. She shook her head. "You do," she said as she started messing with his hair after getting him to sit down. "Your previous outfit clearly hid your face." "I'm just saying, there's no need to hide your face," she said as she looked at his hair. "Maybe a messy look will look better on you." "It was comfortable," he replied. "I noticed, so that's why I got you this." Hestia smiled as she messed up his hair slightly. "But promise me, you won't zip it up too much." "I promise." He turned around to see Hestia back to that of a 9-year-old child. "Good boy," she said as she walked over and flopped on her own bed and started writing in that book of hers like a kid with a crayon. On a second glance, it was a crayon. Naruto shook his head with a smile before looking into the mirror. "It's been a long time, huh?" he asked his own reflection. Naruto turned back to see Hestia kicking her legs back and forth. She did know she was acting like a child, right? Oh well, who cares? It made her who she is, her. "You having fun in that quote book over there?" How did you know?" "It was obvious." Hestia looked down at the book and back at him. She smiled over at him as something occurred in her mind. "You know," she slowly drawled out. "You called me your mother twice yesterday." "I did," he said, eyeing her carefully. "You have yet to call me mother, mom or mum yet," she pouted. Naruto glanced at the goddess he called his mother. "Oh. You can also call me mommy, mummy or mama, your choice." She gave him a large smile. Naruto's eyes dashed away to the side as Hestia noticed he had zipped the neck guard of the jacket up. Her smile dropped for a second before it grew twice the size it was before. She knew what was happening. He was embarrassed. "Aw," she cooed like a mother would her baby. "You're embarrassed." "I'm not embarrassed," he told her as he folded his arms. He failed to convince her, seeing as he was still looking away. "Then call me mom or mommy." She swayed side to side, kicking her childlike legs from the bed. "Moth," he started as Hestia leaned closer and closer. "Hestia." She fell off the bed and landed onto her face. Picking herself up, she pouted at him. "That wasn't very nice," she said as he looked down at her before she gained a shocked expression. "Wait, is this a rebellious phase?" "It's too late for me to have a rebellious phase." His words landed on deaf ears as she just sat on the floor. "Even though I kind of hoped for it, I didn't think it would actually happen." She panicked. "What do I do in this situation?" "Calming down for starters," her adopted son sighed. He watched as the goddess of family panicked. "Seems like there was only one thing to do." "Mom, stop." Hestia's head turned around at such a high speed Naruto thought she snapped her neck. Her shocked expression morphed into a large beaming smile. "Why you called." Her mouth opened and closed repeatedly as she only muttered a few words out. "You called me mom." She shouted happily, not to mention loudly, as he covered his ears. "Just please stop," he pleaded before the childlike goddess ran to the entrance of her temple. "I can't wait to tell everyone that you finally called my mom." Naruto immediately sprung from the bed he had just sat down on. Wait a second," he said as he headed after her. He already got enough teasing from the Underworld couple. Meanwhile, back at an apartment in New York, Sally was talking to her son about her time in the Underworld. "Persephone really made nice herbal tea. I should have asked for the recipe," she trailed off as her son listened. Percy had heard about his mother's time in the Underworld. It seemed that Hades and Persephone treated her like a guest, and that caused him to smile. His mother went on and on about her time in the Underworld before a large smile formed on her face as she talked about her time with Naruto. "That's when he allowed me to see my parents, your grandparents." She smiled as she talked about the hour she reunited with her parents and told Percy all about them. Percy smiled. Naruto had just entered his good book and his mother's good book for probably forever. "There is one thing I would like to talk about though," his mother started. "It was a bit mean of that Annabeth girl to say those things." "Yeah?" Percy said as he thought about it. Her hatred came from only because she turned her friend into a tree because he didn't get a trade. Sure, the trade part sounds bad, as if you're a demigod you're just his next paycheck. However, that meant that demigod survival rates were up. More demigods managed to live and get to camp. Knowing that did kind of sting a little, but he was alive because of it. And besides, Naruto was a good guy even if he didn't like it, seeing as he allowed his mother to meet her own parents, and he did it for free, out of his own heart. Maybe he should invite him over for some time. Percy was sure that his mother would agree to that idea. However, the main question was, how does one find him in order to do that? He'll just offer it up one day if he saw him at the camp. The blonde sighed as he walked back to Hestia's temple with Hestia held under his arm. She was still in her child form as he dropped her onto a bed. The goddess just looked up at him and pouted. "Why?" she whined. "I don't see what you're talking about," he said as he turned around. "Come on. Let me brag about you being my son," she continued. "We both know that we practically had this type of relationship for a long time now, it's time to make it official. You even made it official, you know." "I know," he walked to the door. "But at least try and act maturely at first." Esther's pout only increased. "What do you mean by maturely?" "I'm saying that you can act as you are now, childish and carefree, but at least be a little serious when talking to some of the others, Hestia, mother. Aren't you just shy?" she asked with a growing smile. "I'll admit that I am a bit nervous about it," he told her. "Not to mention sometimes embarrassed like every child when it regarded their parents doing certain acts. It was a good kind of embarrassment though. I think I read this in one of Apollo's Japanese comics or were they manga." He heard Hestia speak as he immediately turned his head to her, similar to when she looked at him earlier. "You what?" he asked. "Please don't be anything bad. Are you a kuu?" She was immediately silenced by Naruto's hand on her mouth. No, I'm not," he told her. "Also, stop reading Apollo's manga. I'm afraid that your innocence will be destroyed." He slowly removed his hand. Honestly, sometimes he wondered if he was the older parent figure. "Well, you have fun," he told the goddess who kicked her feet as she sat on the side of the bed. "Where are you going?" she asked as he walked to the exit. "Back to work." He looked back at her from the door. "Ooh." She well-booed him. "You're always working." She sounds like a kid whose parent is always working and has no time for her. "Take a day off or even a year off," she said, throwing her arms up wide. "You need to take a break. You could spend some time with me or even go out for the night with Apollo or Hermes or someone." She then crossed her arms with a large childish pout. "Come on. Take a break just when we make our mother-son relationship official." Naruto closed his eyes as he walked over to the small childlike goddess before patting her head. "Don't worry, we can spend as much time as you like when I go and do this." He gave a small smile. "Daddy has to go to work." Hestia blinked as Naruto walked away. "Hey," she said. "That's not how it's supposed to go. I'm the parent. Is it this form? Is that why? Oh, you made a joke." Great, now she was rambling. Before Naruto left, he saw his mother give him a motherly smile in her adult form. "You did a very kind thing, Naruto," she told him. It was very heartwarming letting her see her parents. Naruto's eyes widened dramatically as he held up a hand. Why he was unable to finish before he vanished. Hestia raised her hand as she giggled into it. She definitely enjoyed being a mother. Naruto reappeared as he lowered his hand. He was no longer in Hestia's temple as his mind went over on Hestia knowing what he did. Persephone. Hades. He clenched his fist. Iris. They told her about what he did. Now he wasn't going to hear the end of it. She was never going to drop it and always going to try and tease him about it. He shook his head slightly. He'll deal with it later, as of right now he had a job to do. Find and bring demigods to camp. He put his hands into his pockets before he started to walk, using the same and similar methods to find demigods. The first was scent, a simple way to detect not only demigods, but other mythological creatures and even gods. The second was aura, a more complicated way to detect demigods and monsters. For a Greek demigod, it was a powerful ultraviolet aura. Naruto was fairly certain that he was probably the only demigod and mortal who could sense aura like that. However, there were variants of the aura sensing like feel, elementals if they had them, godly essence, things that related them to the gods or their parents and so on. But that was for another time. However, while his sensing was fine for aura, the variations were a bit harder as he had to increase his sensing power, which was fine for him after honing it, but it was yet to be fully mastered. He usually just relied on scent and the basic aura sensing method. He could sense pretty far and had a very good sense of smell, as well as his other four main senses, which while not help him locate demigods and monsters, it would help him out when it came to stealth, combat and hunting. You couldn't really tell if the sound of a snapping branch could either be a demigod or just a random animal. He did use all five senses when it came to tracking and hunting, but his sense of smell was his main demigod, mythological creature, god tracker. You could also say that he had a sixth sense. However, despite this, he only mainly used them for locating demigods for, well, trading purposes. When your main opponents are only monsters that want to kill your paycheck, there was no need to go overboard most of the time. He just hoped that the next demigod was closer to the camps this time. It was just another day at Camp Half-Blood. The lightning bolt had been returned to its rightful owner, and all was good. "Shut up, Clarice." "Maybe not." "What's wrong, Selena?" asked a current nuisance. Selena just narrowed her eyes at the daughter of war. "You know what?" Clarice just smiled innocently. "Do I?" Selena just huffed as she looked away from her best friend. Ah, come on Syl. The daughter of war said. I mean, it's perfectly fine that. Clarice. The daughter of love warned. You know you shouldn't mess with someone whose powers lie in love. Selena turned her head and smirked at the one whose powers lied in war. Clarice cautious stared back. What are you talking about? I don't know, maybe I might make your emotion of desire build up so much you won't be able to handle it. Ha 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 ha. The war demigod laughed. Sorry. It's just that you using powers you don't have, ha ha ha. Selena frowned a little at her best friend. Oh? And how do you know that I can't pull something like that off? She asked. If you did have it, you would have used it on me already. Selena's best friend started with a large growing smirk. Or you would have used it on yourself back when he was still in Circa. That's it. Selena was about to go on when they both heard two daughters of Demeter talking. Is it just me or does the tree feel a little different? The first asked her sister. Different? The second asked as she closed her eyes. No, it feels the same as usual. Odd. The tree feels different. Selena and Clarice thought. They both looked at the tree in question. Alia's tree. Do you think? Selena asked as Clarice shrugged. I'm not sure. The spear user said. The tree looks the same as always. Selena's eyes widened. That's it. She exclaimed before heading towards her cabin. Where are you going? The bloody war god's daughter asked as she watched Selena enter her cabin before coming back out a few seconds later. Clarice then looked over her friend's shoulder to see Selena holding a photo. Clarice grinned as she looked down at the photo. I'm surprised you still have that photo. Well, not really, but I am surprised that you haven't removed me from it in any way, shape or form. Selena groaned at her best friend. As she looked at the photo she held in her hand. It was a photo of her, Clarice and Naruto. They had managed to get Naruto to agree to have a photo with them. He was wearing his green overcoat and cap and it seemed his eyes were trying to not look away from the camera. Selena and Clarice looked much younger in the photo and in the background was Thalia's tree. See? Do you see the tree in the photo? The daughter of love asked. The tree in the background was back when it was still kind of new. It was a big and healthy pine tree that contained the daughter of Zeus. When they lowered the photo to look at the tree it kind of looked like the photo kind of was the keyword there. They held the picture next to the tree. The tree now was still the same, but a little thinner than the one in the photo of the tree when it was bigger. The difference was near impossible to see. Due to demigods coming and going, no one took notice of the tree's thinning. The demigods that were around when the tree first appeared grew alongside the tree and wouldn't be able to tell the difference, and new demigods would just assume the tree was always like that. Selena and Clarice shared a look with each other and back to the tree. What was happening to the tree? The way the two daughters of Demeter were talking though about the feel of the tree, however. It couldn't be. Naruto walked along as he searched for a nearby demigod. Sadly there was no luck near the city close to the camp, so he extended his search further away. With his hands in his pockets, his eyes shot to the side. Found you. He said to himself. He had located a demigod. Now, well, he could extend his sensing to see what type of demigod it was. He could usually tell from the demigod's interest and personality. Sometimes he chose not to see if he would be surprised and be wrong. He then started to turn into that direction. He had a demigod to find. As he approached the demigod, as he slowed down his immense speeds, his eyes narrowed. They were not alone. His current target. Was that the right word? Well, his target was being chased by monsters. More specifically a pack of hellhounds. This will be the perfect time to test out Zeus's lightning. He thought to himself before he engaged the hellhounds. The demigod who was currently being chased had tripped before cowering at one of the hellhounds before she heard something akin to electricity. Lightning sparked around Naruto's hand as he stabbed his hand into the hellhound just as the girl opened her eyes to see the hellhound pierced by a lightning-coated hand. Before it the hellhound turned into dust. 1 down, 4 to go. He flexed his hand causing the lightning around his hand to spark more furiously. He suddenly raised both hands as 2 hellhounds lunged at him or the girl behind him, he didn't really know, but he sent a wave of lightning from both of his palms at the 2 hellhounds. Wow, the girl marveled at her savior. She didn't think that what he was doing was possible. Then there was 2. He smiled before only his right hand sparked with more powerful electricity and then he ran forward. He threw his hand forward as he pierced one of the 2 oncoming hellhounds as the other went for the younger demigod. Naruto simply raised his already lightning-covered hand and shot a small bolt of lightning at the hellhound, turning it into dust. The electricity disappeared in an instant from his hand as he turned to face the demigod he would be escorting to camp. Taking a look at her, she had long black hair, smooth fair skin and rare emerald eyes. She was wearing a black tank top, grey sweatpants, similar sneakers to the ones he was wearing, and 2 black cotton sports cuffs on each wrist. Judging from her appearance, it seemed she was probably out for a jog or something. Are you okay? He asked her. I mean yes. she replied after blinking. She didn't seem to be much older than Selena, rather possibly around the same age. But what was that? Who are you? She had many questions. Any questions you seek will be answered eventually. He told her. For now, I am simply your guide. My guide? Naruto nodded. Now, we must live. He told her. Who knows what other monsters will attack? There's more. Of course, and now that you are now aware of their existence, he trailed off knowing that he didn't need to finish the sentence to get his point across. She slowly stood up, keeping her eyes on the blonde. What's your name? She asked. That's not important. She just gave him a look at his answer. If you truly wish to know, it's Naruto. She soon started to follow the man who can use electricity from his fingertips. Well, I'm Valentina Diaz. Naruto almost stopped after hearing the name of the demigod. Valentina Valentine's Day of Love. Great, another one. He didn't need to increase his sense of smell or aura sensing to figure that she would be a child of Aphrodite. But then again, he could be wrong. Right now she wasn't showing any traits of a child of Aphrodite, and he did bring some kids back to camp that had names that could have related to Aphrodite, but ended up having a different parent. He wouldn't look further into whom her parent was, even though he was pretty sure of whom it was, he would just wait and see if there was a possibility of him being wrong. It wasn't fun to know the answer right off the bat. But it didn't help with what she had said earlier. So those things, she trailed off looking behind her. Hellhounds. He told the demigod. Hellhounds. Like the ones in those fantasy stories. I guess you could put it that way. How did you do that lightning thing with your hands? She asked as she sped up beside him. I can do that because I am a demigod. He told her. Wait, hold on. A demigod. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. It's the truth and you should accept it because you are one too. Eh? Yep, that sounded like a demigod who was told they were a demigod. Did you find it weird when you were running and no one saw the pack of dogs behind you? She had to admit that was the weirdest part. A pack of large dogs were chasing her and no one knew what she was running away from. You didn't drop anything, did you? He asked. Because where I am taking you is a safe haven for people such as yourself. No, I didn't drop anything, what I'm wearing is what I had before being chased. She told him. And what do you mean of a safe haven? A place full of demigods like us. The blonde replied as they continued to walk. Where is this safe haven? The place called Camp Half-Blood. Oh, she got it. But where is it exactly? Far. She turned her head to look at him. What do you mean by far? Far as in far. He smoothly replied. That doesn't help me here, you know. She slumped over slightly. At least give me an estimate, and what about my father? Your father has been notified. He answered her without even sending her a look. An estimate? Maybe a day or so if we are lucky. A day? She shouted. Where is this camp anyway? It's located in New York. New York? That's too far away. She told him. Then don't you have anything to sped this up? Like super speed to go with your lightning or electricity powers? I do. Then why don't you use them? Because you won't survive. He bluntly said. The chances of you surviving. Okay, stop. She fell behind a bit before she walked into the blonde. Be prepared, when night falls I shall set up a safe zone. He told her, much to her confusion before she looked at what he was pointing at. We are going through there. It's the shortest route to camp. Great, more trees. He turned his head to look down at her. Now, come along. He said before started to make his way down. We got daylight to burn. Valentina hoped that following the blonde would be a good thing, seeing as that she could be possibly attacked by more of those monsters. And the blonde was strong too. Strong enough to kill a pack of those monsters with ease. She shuddered to think that there might be stronger monsters out that she might encounter. She hoped she didn't jinx herself with that. That night, Percy dreamed. It was a lot like the first dream he had where he saw an eagle and a horse, but this time it was a girl. She was a punk-looking girl with short spiky black hair and electric blue eyes. She wore punk-styled clothes that not only screamed punk, but also a bit of tomboy as well. Right behind her in the white void that was Percy's dream, a figure wearing a green overcoat and rose from behind the punk-looking girl, with his face hidden in shadows from his cap and a single glowing red eye. Suddenly the girl fell to her knees before basically branches emerged from her back forming into a tree as the rest of her body turned into said tree. All the while he knew was Naruto just stood there with blood-coated hands. Chapter 9. Valentina panted as she followed the blonde man through the woods. Can we take a break? She asked, hoping the monster slayer to stop. All she got was a slight turn of his head. We're wasting light. He told her. We need to get as close as we can before nightfall. I shouldn't have to explain why traveling at night is dangerous. Valentina sighed as she followed him. Why a forest though? That's because it gives us an advantage against monsters. She just raised an eyebrow. For us? I think you mean for you. You're the only one who dispatched of them so easily. You sound like we are the only two demigods to exist. He responded. But I'll give you credit. You're right, only useful for me. Naruto came to a stop which caused his temporary companion to look at him. What's wrong? We have company. She watched as Naruto got ready for said companion. I totally jinxed myself. She internally screamed. Val suddenly found herself scooped up into Naruto's arms as a minotaur charged at them. A minotaur? Val shouted as the minotaur missed them with its horns. As in the minotaur from Greek mythology? She asked. Not the minotaur. He said with a small frown as they were attacked from behind. A minotaur. He jumped over the second minotaur that charged at them from behind. The two minotaurs. She couldn't believe it. If she was a demigod, that meant the gods and their mythology was also real. She remembered the Greek myths from her history lessons, so there should have only been one. Why is there two? Sorry. She heard the blonde apologize before she was thrown up from being in two arms two over his shoulder. I'll explain later. Alright. The blonde was on the defensive as he jumped back while the two minotaurs kept up the offensive. Whenever they tried to use their arms, Naruto had batted them away with ease with his remaining free arm, the left one. Val's mind briefly wandered as the minotaurs kept attacking. Then, she saw it. Bright and beautiful flames spiraling around his left hand as he ducked under the first minotaur's fist and slammed his hand into the monster's gut. With a powerful push as the blonde had jumped back, the minotaur was engulfed in flames. She watched as the minotaur struggled and stumbled while failing around, trying to put the flames out as it rolled on the floor, trying to stop the flames. In the end it didn't even matter. The minotaur being consumed by flames couldn't put them out and died because of it. The second minotaur roared angrily as Naruto jumped into the trees. Stay here. He told her before he jumped back down into the mess below. Val didn't know what to do as the minotaur slammed its foot into the ground. Steam seemingly came out of the monster's nostrils before charging at the blonde. The blonde's fingertips sparked not only with the power of lightning, but also with the power swirling water gathered from the atmosphere. The girl in the trees watched as he backstepped to a tree behind him before immediately turning and flipping off the tree as the minotaur crashed headfirst into the oak. Naruto raised his hand as he fired the element of water first before firing the bolt of lightning gathering at the tip of his middle finger. Val watched with wide eyes as the minotaur was given the electric chair or the toaster in the bathtub or the. You know what, she just saw a lot of flying sparks shocking the wet monster. It was both beautiful and horribly mortifying. You can come down now. He said looking up into the tree where Val resided. Do you need a hand? I was about to say no, but help would be helpful. All Val did was blink and she was back onto the ground. Let's go. She watched as he instantly turned around as he was back to business. Hey, wait. She called out. Aren't you going to tell me what happened? With the minotaurs? He asked. Yes. If what you are saying is true, then why was there two minotaurs? The blonde was quiet, something she kind of noticed here and there, but right now he was pretty talkative. It's kind of my fault there's more than one minotaur. How so? What did you do? Nothing. She gave him a look before she noticed that she was easily ignored. Really? The nothing I am referring about is my job. And what's your job? She heard him groan. She might have been asking too many questions. My job is to bring demigods back to camp safely. He said. That's just the basic summary of the job. Isn't it dangerous? She asked. Nothing I can't handle. But what does this have to do with the minotaur? Balance. He told her. Balance. She was honestly expecting more from him. The world can't exist without balance, Val. He said as he stepped over a fallen log. You could say I am a bit too good at my job. So they made more? He shook his head. No, they didn't make more. He turned to face her with an unread expression. Me and the fates have a difficult relationship. However, I changed many fates of the kids that I saved and brought to camp. This caused an unbalance. However, the fates couldn't accept easily changing fates. So they tried to fix it in a sense. How did they fix it? Valentina asked. Technically they didn't. He told her. They tried to remove me from the picture, but to them, I was untouchable. So they did the next best thing, they duplicated the monsters. So those minotaurs were practically clones, yes. He nodded. It was a lot to take in. The young demigod had plenty to think about now. So you and the fates have a love-hate relationship then? He stopped briefly as he pondered the thought. I guess so. He said. Depends on our moods, I guess. He and the fates had plenty of pleasant exchanges, but then at other times it was like getting nagged and glared at. Their relationship was different. Do they still hate you? Val, it was never about hate. He sighed. It's about balance. Sure, they briefly hated me for changing fates, and being untouchable to them was an added bonus, but they don't hold grudges like Hades and any children he might have had in the past. Sure, they do remember and bring it up from time to time, but they practically made it fate for me to change the fates of the kids I saved. Is something wrong? Val asked. Now I got myself confused about my relationship with the fates. He shook his head as he continued onwards. He'd worry about that later. Come on. And with that, she followed. The duo had made progress since the fight with the Minotaurs, and now as they got closer and closer, Naruto allowed Val to rest under the night sky. They sat next to a fire as the flames burned brightly, warming them up. Valentina had to wonder where he pulled the food from and wondered if it was okay to eat, but once she did eat, it was like falling in love. The meal presented was that of a home-cooked one. She watched as he did something with the flames as he sent a small ball of flame from the larger flame around them. She had no idea why he did that as she saw the small ball of flame circle around their campsite before after a few minutes disappeared before she saw him do something else, but couldn't tell what. We'll be safe for the night. He reassured her. She looked up at him with tired eyes. He must have done something to assure that they'll stay safe from monster attacks throughout the night, seeing as he placed his palm of the ground. Until dawn, this is a safe haven, free of monsters. She couldn't even nod as she closed her eyes, fading into the realm of dreams. A few minutes later, Naruto stared into the continually burning flame. It was warm. At least an hour passed of just staring at the fire, Naruto turned to see the slightly shaking form of Val next to him. He took off his white jacket and placed it on the shivering Val like a blanket and knew it wouldn't be enough. He grabbed the jacket and in less than a blink of an eye, Val was now wearing it. He turned back to the flame as his hand reached into the fire and he pulled out what seemed to be a red-orange blanket. It was kind of like a magician act. He placed it over Val and it was warm much like the flames it came out from. Naruto noticed the shivering stopped as he returned back to the fire. Well, he could have done that in the first place, he would have liked not to go to such lengths. Why? One reason would be where was he going to put it? But he had a solution for that. Maybe it was because he usually traveled alone aside from bringing a few demigods back to camps. This was the first time in a long time that he had used a fire blanket. Hell, he couldn't think of a reason why he hasn't used it before. Maybe he was going senile or something. His eyes changed slightly as he held his hands to the flames, a brief near unnoticed smile appeared within the fire as fire came crawling up his arms, with the first contact on his skin being that similar to two arms. After crawling up his arms, they began to sink into his skin, as if he was absorbing the flames and heating himself up. Warm, he spoke softly as his body raised in temperature. On the downside, the fire got a little smaller as a result for his warmth. He turned to see a hellhound outside of the camp he made. The hellhound was staring right at him and his guest, but made no move to come inside. Seems the barrier is doing wonders. He thought as he picked up a stone. He held it towards the hellhound as sparks surrounded the pebble before he suddenly shot it like a gun or more similar to that of a tossing of a coin. The lightning pebble flew through the air and the skull of the hellhound, resulting it to lose its form and crumbled away. He turned back to the fire, the only thing that currently interested him. It was long before he could hear shuffling as a weak voice was heard. Are you okay? He turned his head to Val who slowly noticed the warm blanket and held it close. She also noticed his jacket and the lack of one on him. His jacket sleeves were too long for her, but she didn't seem to mind, probably due to her half-awake state. Without saying a word, he nodded. He looked tired. It was true, he was tired. He had no idea how long it's been. He assumed there were some bags under his eyes or was it just his eyes? I've been tired for a long time. Val just kept looking at him as she slowly scooted over with the blanket wrapped around her. She had no idea he heated himself up, but she made her way to him slowly. But she then got a better look at him as the two now leaned on the large tree behind them. Your eyes are tired. Are they? HMHM. She nodded. You could tell I was tired just by my eyes. Aren't eyes the window to the soul? She heard him make an unintelligible small noise. Depends on who you ask. He said as she tried to give him some of the blanket. But, I guess you're right. He saw her trying to pass on some of the blanket towards him. He didn't need it, but just for tonight. He would humor her. Now, go to sleep. His voice was like a parent to a child. We got to get up early so we can reach camp. Alright, she said with a yawn making it almost unintelligible. He waited a few minutes and could already tell she had fallen asleep, judging by the head leaning on his side. He gave one last look to the camp's fire as a bigger, more noticeable smile was seen within the flames as he closed his eyes as he felt the flames surround his body, basking in its warmth like a mother hugging her child. Chapter 10. It was the crack of dawn. Way too early as the day was going to begin, but it didn't bother the older demigod at the moment. He looked down to see that the fire had been put out overnight and that he still had the fire blanket over him but made no attempts to move. There laid Val, wearing his jacket while leaning on him with the fire blanket over both of them. A small smile appeared on his face. How long has it been? Ah well. His smile faded as he looked around the barrier. Overnight they seemed to have gotten some visitors that fortunately couldn't get him thanks to the barrier that was placed the night before. Lying over yonder was a pack of hellhounds. Thankfully the barrier remained strong overnight and that the hellhounds were sleeping. Even monsters needed rest. He would have gotten up and dealt with them if it wasn't for the fact that Val also had her arms around him. He would have stood up and woken her up but he decided not to. You shouldn't get close to her. A little voice in the back of his mind whispered. She'll turn out like all the others. I know. He replied to the whispered voice. The little nagging voice disappeared. He was slowly starting to bond with her. A bond that would be bound to break once she arrived at the camp. What was the saying for moments like this? Don't worry until it happens. It was probably something along those lines. He glanced back to the rising sun. It reminded him of home before he narrowed his eyes. His pupils shrunk greatly, as if they were going to release a big bang. A single blink returned his eyes back to normal as he huffed. What he saw, from quite the impressive distance, was fog. His mind started going through different scenarios of what to do. That fog wasn't your typical run-of-the-mill fog. It was heavy fog with a twist. He could wake Val up now and leave before the fog got any closer, or he could stay put and wait for the fog to pass. He was the only one awake so the fog would only affect him. The thought of carrying Val through the fog was an option. But would it go well if she woke up during that time? He huffed once more and sent a quick glance to the hellhounds that lied outside of the barrier he had placed for the night. The barriers he set up had different effects. This one stopped monsters but didn't last more than a day. A few hours of rest through the night, just the time they needed. The barrier would fade in just a few hours. Maybe 2 hours left. The hellhounds didn't really need sleep, but they could sleep. It was like an immortal sleeping or eating when they could go without it. Plus sleep was good. Resting was good. Saving your energy was good. He reached to the ground and picked up another pebble and held it in his close grip. A nifty little trick he had. Upon opening his hand, the round pebble now had an orange-red color much like the fire blanket and had a low glow to it. It was just a pebble that he infused with flames or heat more precisely. It was good for warmth or low-light purposes. He did this with other pebbles of the same size before he had conjured string akin to spider silk from somewhere. Where he got it, he wasn't telling. The first pebble suddenly got a thin hole as the spider silk, which was much stronger than regular spider silk, went through and was tied up into a makeshift rock necklace. He grabbed the fire blanket and like a magic trick vanished into small flames. He tucked the heat rocks away and put on the necklace version. It was a cold morning. The fog was getting closer and that wasn't good. He held Val in both of his arms as he started to leave. As long as she didn't wake up, then they could get through the fog without any worries. But it was never that easy. He had managed to get a good distance before the fog approached and that's when Valentina had decided to wake up. Go back to sleep. He commanded. Where are we? We just left camp. Now go to sleep. You're warm. She muttered in his arms. Is that fog? Yes. It is. He nodded. It's dangerous so you need to sleep. How's it dangerous? There's not enough time to explain. But if you can't go back to sleep you need to listen to what I need to say. Val rubbed the sleep from her eyes. Seemed she didn't have plans to sleep in, especially when she saw the hellhounds. What do I have to do? He looked down at her with slight confusion in his eyes before turning his head behind him. The hellhounds were up and on the chase. They must have noticed their scent leave. That fog up ahead is an illusionary fog. He told her. It will separate us since we are both awake. No matter if I carry you, I will still lose you. Like watching a movie with popcorn only to notice you drop the popcorn after being entranced with the movie. Yeah, like that. So what's dangerous about the fog? You need to ignore whatever appears within the thick fog. The fog will show you anything you can imagine or want. Sometimes it will show you the past, the future or something akin to a vision, a prophetic dream. You could see something that is related to something, but you'll have no idea what it's connected to. Al gulped as he went on. But that doesn't sound so bad. She had a feeling it was going to get worse maybe. The fog only appears during daybreak, but it stays as long as someone is in it. It also affects with your perception of time. Get caught up in whatever the fog shows you, it might feel like a few minutes, but a day or maybe a week could potentially pass, and you won't even know it. How bad does it get? You could die within it from old age. There it was. And I will have no idea I will grow old. None until you leave the fog that is. She didn't want to be an old woman. She did not want that. I had hoped we got through the fog without any problems or avoid it entirely, but it seems luck isn't on our side this morning. He sighed. Prepare yourself, the fog is approaching, remember, keep walking forward. Oh okay. She looked back to the hellhounds. But what about them? I'll deal with them. It was then that the two entered the fog followed by the hellhounds. And the sparks that illuminated the inside of the fog before the fog's magical separation effects occurred. Naruto looked at the ground as he pulled out one of those heated stones from his pocket. He had a feeling that maybe, just maybe, Val would fall for the illusionary mist. The blonde chucked the rock into the mist as he walked forward. As he walked forward through the mist, he saw the illusions walk out from around him. Naruto. A childish voice cheered happily. Come give your mama a hug. He just walked past the fog-created Hestia. Hestia pouted. You're no fun. She looked down and kicked the ground, still pouting like a child, an adorable child mind you. Leave him. He's a warrior. Aries said as he brandished a new-looking sword. This time let's go all out. He hoped that the Valentina found the rock. Just because the fog separated them and kept them separate didn't mean that they were displaced or taken to a pocket dimension. If they walked past each other, they'll never know. Due to the fog having the mist capabilities, it would make sure of it. What annoyances. Why must I be the one to bring a mistake into this world of mine? Aphrodite asked herself. Mistake of Aphrodite. Some fog campers called out as they melted. Mistake. Monster. They called out, melting to the ground. You never cared. We're just your paycheck. You kill us with no hesitation whatsoever. He didn't care. Those he killed got themselves killed on their own volition. They attacked him with the intent to kill, and he returned it through the same bloody methods. They were his paycheck because that was his job. Monster, he could see that. He could be a monster at times. A mistake, well, it depends on who you ask. Aphrodite saw him as one, hence mistake of Aphrodite. But Hestia and others didn't. Don't listen to them. Hestia said. Remember, keep looking forward. Even as a fog-conjured illusion, Hestia still wanted to help him. You're my son after all. She said in her adult form. Thank you. He thought he wanted to say it, but she was only an illusion. An illusion that was trying to keep him within the fog forever. Thank you for adopting this monster and mistake, mother. It seemed he was approaching the end as he threw another heated rock. As he approached the end, another voice echoed out. Captain. Upon hearing the new voice, he stopped for just a second before walking on. The mist started to die down as he exited and saw the sun. He looked behind him. Val was still in there. Great. Val walked through the fog after getting up, that is. She had no idea when she found herself on the ground, but this was probably due to the fog. All she had to do was walk forward. That was easy. That was until she heard the growls. She stopped as she saw a hulking form of some four-legged creature that came from the fog. It was a giant wolf. The girlish shriek escaped her mouth as she ran. That was before the fact they were illusions popped in her mind. Interacting with the illusions, probably through something nice like a loved one or something like a fright, would keep her in here. On Val, they're only illusions. She looked up to see a much smaller wolf, a regular size one, sitting in front of her. The wolf gave her a look. Was it? It was. That wolf was looking down at her. The wolf stood and a bloody hand stroked it. The figure was wearing a green greatcoat. His hands were bloody and were dripping onto the floor. But she knew him anywhere. She was traveling with her. Naruto said nothing. She flinched when she saw him point at her. She was still wearing his jacket, but there was a looming shadow. A new voice called. You shouldn't mix yourself in with this garbage. This thing had to be a monster. She kept looking ahead, ignoring this new voice. She walked past the wolf and Naruto and kept going. What you are doing is pointless. The voice said again. The looming shadow never left her. She turned her head to see bones. Lots and lots of bones. This thing was an amalgamation of bones and flesh. What was this thing? She shivered. She never felt so afraid. She wanted to get out. Hand over your soul, child. It said as its teeth rattled. Stay with us and we'll make good use of your soul. She crouched down to the ground as the monstrous form of flesh dropped around her, and it sounded disgusting. Your mother abandoned you. It said as blood poured from its bony mouth onto her. It felt so real. We'll never abandon you. The ugly flesh creature grinned as one of its air-filled pus sacs released a putrid spray of foul-smelling gas. Tendrils, bony hands and what seemed to be large maggot-like insects begun to surround her. I want to go home. It was then a shining light shined. It was a rather dim glow, but bright enough to see that it looked the same as that necklace she saw Naruto wear. She reached out to it as the thing surrounded her. Once she grabbed it, she felt warm. A nice warm feeling entered her body like a parent cuddling their child. It's just a dream. A motherly and a somewhat brotherly voice echoed. Just a dream. Don't let your fears consume you. She looked behind her to see that disgusting creature was now a giant plush teddy bear. Dear, that's it. When he told me about it, I could only think about what awful things it would show me to keep me here. But now that I'm feeling good, it's playing to keep me here with things I would like her see as safe and happy. Al smiled as she jumped off the bear and headed forwards as she passed another fog Naruto, this one looking like the one she knew. "I'm proud of you," he said. "You overcame the fear of the fog." Thanks," she said to the fog version of Naruto. Fog Naruto's hand landed on her head. "Good job. You've earned it." Thanks." She rubbed the back of her neck before walking on, unaware of what happened just then as she passed him. "So you're finally here." She heard Naruto as she exited the fog. How long was I in there?" 7 years. "What?" She immediately started checking her body only for it to be the same. "Calm down, you've been in there for an hour," he said. "I see you picked up my stones." "Oh yeah, they're really warm." She smiled before realization took over. "Do you want your jacket back?" "I get it off you at a later time," he told her. "For now, let's get you to camp and get that part over with." "What part?" "You'll find out." Valentina looked at him strangely. Was it her or was he being a bit more open? Probably just her imagination. "Hey, can I keep these?" "Sure." The two had gotten breakfast from a fast food place on the breakfast menu. When she had his food he got from somewhere, she doubted that she would eat something that good again. "So what are we doing here?" she asked. "Besides breakfast, of course." "Nothing, just breakfast," he told her. "Really? I kind of doubt that." "We're going to have breakfast and then we're going to head to camp," he told her. This place just happened to be here. She watched him drank his coffee, or wake up drink as she called it. "You don't look like the type that drinks coffee," she admitted. "And you don't look like the type that eats pancakes with fatting syrup on them," he shot back. "Hey. Leave the pancakes alone." He gave her an odd look. "Right. What's that supposed to mean?" she asked as he ate his own quick breakfast. "I mean what I mean." "And what do you mean?" "Nothing important," he replied as he looked through the daily newspaper. Valentina huffed with a small pout before looking at the back of the newspaper. "Anything interesting on there?" she asked, continuing to eat. "Not really. Just more of the same," he replied to her. The rest of the time, he remained silent as they stayed seated within the place of their breakfast meal. Al tried to start more conversations but didn't get any more long responses. Just when the two were making vocal progress too. Her eyes widened as she looked at him. She had finished her breakfast and was mainly sitting there for comfort at this point. "Is it safe here?" That lowered the newspaper. "Explain." "I mean, you wanted to avoid cities and towns due to being more scouting and hunting monsters, right?" "That's right." He folded the newspaper up. "But some things cannot be avoided. Just like breathing, right? You can hold your breath, it probably won't last, and if it did." "Wow, way to break that easy example." She deadpanned at him, which he ignored. "Let us be off." He stood and started heading out. Wait." She quickly got up and followed. Thankfully the streets weren't that busy yet. "Come on." He gestured her over. "I'm coming." He regretted taking her to this town, city, whatever. "Come on, you might see something you like." Val pointed over to a large shopping mall. "No." "But." "I said no, Val." "Thanks," she said as she headed over as he audibly groaned. "I said no," he grumbled before following her. Shopping malls were dangerous due to the amount of people within. Disguised monsters could easily blend with the crowd and kill the demigods there and pin the blame on another. That in certain shops attracted even the gods. God forbid that he met someone like Apollo again, he didn't want to deal with the latest new product he had purchased. Thankfully that was only in places like his homeland or at conventions. Why did Apollo get into manga? Why? Yo. Naru. Check out this new manga. And it's about Greek gods. And there's even an H-manga spin-off. He shook that memory out of his head. He didn't want that to occur again. He had no interest and Apollo was shoving in and tried to convert him to his cause. At least Ares was better in that regard. "Hey, that son idiot told me about this and I thought it was childish, but look at all the attention to detail in the weapons. And the gore. I haven't seen gore like that since the last war. Too soon maybe." He frowned as he followed behind Val. He was not carrying any shopping bags if she thought of getting something. He was going to drag her to camp as soon as she stopped to look at something. He was here in the underworld for a few days. He was. Hades said as Melino rolled around on the ground. "I missed him." She whined. "I can't believe I missed him the few days I left to hunt people." Persephone giggled into her hand. "There's always another time. I mean his coffin is here after all." She smiled. "And you missed his lady friend Sally." "Eh? He has a lady friend." Melino stopped rolling before rolling some more. "Damn it. Why must I be so late to everything?" The pale goddess stopped rolling around. "Hey, do you know where he is?" she asked looking at her mother. Persephone seemed about to look into it before Hades stopped her. He's working right now, Melano. He said. I doubt he wants to be interrupted at work. Then I'll catch him outside of work. Thanks for the idea. Wait, Melano, stop. He was unable to stop his daughter as she ghosted away. She takes after you, you know. Hades said to his wife, who just smiled. I thought she took after you more. Hades sunk into his chair as Persephone just innocently hummed to herself. He wished that blonde adopted demigod of Hestia's luck. Melano was on the prowl once again. What if neglected Naruto hates his mother Aphrodite? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.